Chapter 263. When Xia Pinggan's carriage arrived at the entrance of the Eastport Supervision Office, there were already more than 100 carriages lined up from the entrance of the Eastport Supervision Office to several hundred meters away. After turning 2 streets, many pedestrians and people from nearby shops stopped and stuck their heads out of their windows to look, wondering what was going on. The carriage driver opened the door for Xia Pinggan, and Xia Pinggan, who was holding the scepter of adjudication in his hand, walked out of the carriage elegantly. Xia Pinggan was originally a handsome guy with a unique temperament. The clothes he wore were tasteful, and he held a scepter in his hand. At this moment, he was even more handsome, and his temperament was bursting. He was a gentleman and had a dignified aura. "Welcome back to Eastport, Envoy Inspector, welcome back to Eastport, Envoy Inspector, welcome back to Eastport, Envoy Inspector," the carriage drivers shouted in unison, and their voices could be heard from several streets away. The crowd on the street immediately became restless. "What? That person is the one who beheaded the governor's son to seek justice for the victims of the Eastport district? Who else could it be other than Lord Xia? I heard that Lord Xia handcuffed the son of the governor from the governor's mansion in Jinyang district that day. On the way back to Donggang district, he even broke through numerous obstacles and brought that scum to Donggang district and chopped off his head." A few passers-by saw Xia Pinggan get off the carriage from the opposite side of the road and began to discuss among themselves. In the past few days, the news of Xia Pinggan barging into the governor's mansion to capture the governor's son had spread throughout Eastport district, and it even gave rise to many encouraging and entertaining versions of the story. In those versions of the story, Xia Pinggan purposely brought Huang Wei to the Eastport Supervision Office to be beheaded. The people who stopped Xia Pinggan along the way were all there to prevent him from bringing back the governor's son and beheading him. Only a few people knew about the terrifying Seven-Sun Realm Summoner who stopped Xia Pinggan in the end. What was originally a complicated process became simple once it spread through the mouths of the people. It was filled with the kind of justice that everyone was looking forward to. "Wow, so handsome!" Some female employees stuck their heads out of the windows of nearby streets and saw Xia Pinggan. Their eyes lit up and they cheered. "I didn't expect him to be an envoy inspector at such a young age." The few old men touched their snow-white hair and sighed. With a smile on his face, Xia Pinggan gently raised the scepter of adjudication in his hand and greeted the coachman and the onlookers. Then, he turned around and walked into the entrance of the inspection department. Luo Laojiao and his dog were already waiting for Xia Pinggan at the door. Luo Laojiao's wrinkled face was like a sunflower in full bloom. "Welcome back, Envoy Inspector." While saying these auspicious words, Luo Laojiao's gaze swept across the scepter of adjudication in Xia Pinggan's hand. Then, he bowed even lower. With such a big commotion outside, the people in the building of the inspection department also came out. Long Chao, Hua Ziqin, Situ Hua, Fan Gang, and Wei Meiyu all came out. When they saw Xia Pinggan, they were a little excited. Some of them recognized the scepter of adjudication and were even more shocked when they saw the scepter of adjudication in Xia Pinggan's hand. "Sir." Long Chao strode over with reddened eyes. Last time, he fought side by side with Xia Pinggan and brought back the governor's son. Long Chao was completely convinced by Xia Pinggan. When he saw Xia Pinggan again, his feelings were naturally different. "All right, I'm fine. Let's go back first." Xia Pinggan patted Long Chao's shoulder. Without saying anything more, he returned to the inspection department with everyone else. 5 minutes later, in Xia Pinggan's office in the inspection department, Xia Pinggan gently blew on the hot tea brewed by Wei Meiyu as he glanced at the documents on his desk. On the desk in front of Xia Pinggan, there was a thick pile of documents. Those documents were the documents that Xia Pinggan had ordered the inspection department to search for those people who had intercepted him that day before he was taken away. Dongmen Yong and Fong Nu had not returned yet. Xia Pingan casually flipped through those documents as he nodded inside. The inspection department of Donggang has collected so much information in just 2 days. It seems that they've put in a lot of effort. This also means that I've gained their recognition as the envoy inspector. Now that I've given my order, they've started to implement it seriously. Huang Wei, you deserve to die. The captains were all sitting on the sofa in front of Xia Pingan's office. They were all staring at Xia Pingan, waiting for him to speak. Since Xia Pingan could come back so quickly with the scepter of adjudication in his hand, there was no need to ask what the adjudication army's attitude was. This Mr. Inspector of the Donggang Supervision Department definitely had the full support of the adjudication army. Not bad, you've collected so much information in just 2 days. Thanks for your hard work. Xia Pingan flipped through those documents as he took out a copy and threw it to Fan Gang, who didn't speak much. Fan Gang, who was wearing a black robe and had gloomy eyes, looked like a movie character in Xia Pingan's eyes. However, he didn't say anything as he just opened the document. That document was the information of Li Chaoming, the director of the Jinyang District Police. There was a photo of Li Chaoming, the director of the Jinyang District Police, in a police uniform. In the photo, Li Chaoming had a fat head, big ears and an official look. In addition to various information about Li Chaoming, there were also the properties of Li Chaoming's family in Donggang District. Li Chaoming's family had a warehouse and a trading firm in Donggang District, which were managed by his brother-in-law. The trading firm and warehouse dealt in liquor and silk trade, which was a profitable business. Many entertainment places and pubs in Jinyang District imported liquor from Li Chaoming's trading firm. After reading those documents, Fan Gang looked a bit confused as he finally opened his mouth. What's your order, Your Excellency? Have you seen the 2 warehouses of Jinyang Trading Company? Xia Pingan asked. Yes, I have. I'll give you an hour to get some prohibited items and throw them into those 2 warehouses. After an hour, I'll take everyone out to check the 2 warehouses of Jinyang Trading Company. Then, we'll seal those 2 warehouses and give everyone some benefits. As Xia Pingan blew on the tea leaves, he didn't even lift his eyelids as he casually talked about this kind of framing and seizing other people's warehouses, as if he was talking about a very casual matter. When Long Chao, Hua Ziqin, and Sidu Hua heard that, all 3 of them stared at Xia Pingan with strange gazes. Your Excellency, this is the inspection department. You're an envoy inspector. How can you tell us to do this kind of thing so blatantly? Framing and seizing? This isn't very good. The previous envoy inspectors have never done this before. Hua Ziqin wanted to say something, but when she looked at the expressions of the people around her, she swallowed the words that were about to come out of her mouth. The atmosphere in the office was so strange that one could hear a pin drop. Fan Gang's eyebrows twitched as he narrowed his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. In the entire office, there was only the sound of Xia Pingan sipping his tea leisurely. After a moment of silence, Fan Gang looked up at Xia Pingan and asked a question. Why did Your Excellency choose me for this kind of thing? It's nothing. I just feel that you should be very good at this kind of thing. Your temperament is more suitable for this kind of thing. Why? Can't you do it? Xia Pingan looked up and glanced at Fan Gang. He thought that if this guy's hair was a little longer and he held a small wooden stick in his hand, he would be 90% similar to Fan Gang. Fan Gang stood up expressionlessly and walked directly to the door of the office without a word. Just when Long Chao and Hua Ziqin thought that Fan Gang would slam the door and leave with a cold face, the steel-faced Fan Gang suddenly turned his head. The corner of his mouth twitched. He should be smiling. No need for an hour. Your Excellency can bring people to search in half an hour. Thank you for your hard work. Xia Pingan smiled. Fan Gang opened the door and gently closed it before leaving the office. Xia Pingan looked at Long Chao again. Go and monitor the shopkeeper of Jinming Trading Company. Once we take action and seal the warehouse, capture the shopkeeper and then take him to freeze the bank account of Jinming Trading Company. At the same time, capture the accountant and manager of Jinming Trading Company. I want to catch them all in one fell swoop." Long Chao licked his lips, stood up suddenly, and said loudly, "Yes." That day, when the police of Jinyang district set up a roadblock on the road, Long Chao's heart had long been stifled. Now that Xia Pingan asked Long Chao to do this, Long Chao couldn't wait to vent his anger. In the blink of an eye, only Situ Hua and Hua Ziqin were left in the office. Situ Hua's face was serious, but his eyes were rolling around like a mouse. "Situ Hua, go and get in touch with Li Xing's brothers and a few liquor stores. Once I seal this place, get Li Xing's brothers to move everything out of the warehouse. Then, use the fastest speed to dispose of the dirty things according to the procedures." "Don't worry, Your Excellency. I'm good at this." Situ Hua stood up with a smile. Xia Pingan finally looked at Hua Ziqin and said with a smile, "Are you saving money to buy a house in Shangjing City? How did you know?" Hua Ziqin's eyes widened. In a place like Shangjing City, there weren't many summoners who could live comfortably, especially the middle and low-level summoners. What little money they had was used to buy realm beads or spiritual sense crystals. There weren't many who still had money to buy a house. "May you said so. Don't worry, I reckon it won't take long for you to save enough money. By the way, you can let everyone get ready. After I finish this cup of tea, we'll set off in half an hour." When she left Xia Pingan's office, Hua Ziqin's expression was a little conflicted. In terms of duty, she felt that the inspector was wrong to do this. He was abusing his power and acting recklessly. She felt that he was a robber. However, in terms of personal feelings, she felt that it should be very cool to do this, which made her heart restless. Sigh, forget it. Anyway, I'm just a captain. The inspector has the final say in the matters of the inspection department. Comforting herself like this, Hua Ziqin went to inform the other team members who were still in the inspection department to get ready for action. Half an hour later, 4 black carriages rushed out of the inspection department and went straight to the dock area. Chapter 264. With Xia Pingan in charge, the inspection department acted swiftly and decisively. Several carriages rushed to the warehouse of Jinming Trading Company. The team members got off the carriages and quickly sealed off the courtyard. When the several security guards of Jinming Trading Company, who were guarding the warehouse, saw the officials of the inspection department rushing towards them like wolves and tigers, they all stood aside and didn't dare to move. The 2 warehouses of Jinming Trading Company were close to each other. Each warehouse was tens of thousands of square meters in a large courtyard, so it was convenient to seal them off. Xia Pingan stood in the open space outside the warehouse. Looking at the warehouse in front of him, he grinned. Just now, he saw that the 2 warehouses were full of goods. They should have just entered the warehouse. Fan Gang, who was wearing a black robe, was standing beside Xia Pingan at some point in time. He didn't say much and only nodded slightly at Xia Pingan. As for Situ Hua, he met up with Xia Pingan's team halfway and came to the warehouse of Jinming Trading Company. After receiving the notice, the person in charge of the warehouse rushed over, sweating profusely. As soon as he saw the people of the inspection department, his face changed. He hurriedly put on a smile and said, "Officers, this is the warehouse of Jinming Trading Company. Our warehouse is piled with drinks and silk. There are no prohibited items. Is there any misunderstanding?" The person in charge of the warehouse naturally couldn't get close to Xia Pingan. His subordinates would deal with it. The inspection department received a tip-off that someone reported that there are prohibited items in the warehouse of Jinyang Trading Company. "Open the warehouse. We want to check it," Situ Hua said to the person in charge of the warehouse. Our shopkeeper is not here. Jinming Trading Company is the property of Director Li. Officers, can you?" The person in charge of the warehouse didn't understand the situation and was still struggling. What Director Li or Director Ma? We, the inspection department of Donggang, enforce the law impartially. Don't be like this. Situ Hua's fierce look was very frightening. I order you to open the door of the warehouse immediately. We want to check it. If you don't open it, we will break the door and you will be responsible for all the consequences. Seeing the surrounding summoners from the inspection department looking at him coldly, the person in charge of the warehouse broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly took out the key and opened the doors of the two warehouses to let the people from the inspection department in for inspection. In the warehouse where the drinks were stored, bottles, cans, and all kinds of packaged high-end drinks piled up like a mountain. Shangjing City was a place of extravagance. Li Chaoming was the director of the Jinyang District Police Station. Many high-end drinks in various restaurants, wineries, and clubhouses in Jinyang District had to be purchased from the firms designated by him. It could be regarded as a disguised protection fee. The profit of this high-end drink business was high, and it was endless every day. It was really a good business. It was the same for the silk business. As long as there was a way, it would be a big business. As soon as the doors of the two warehouses were opened, two teams from the inspection department entered to search. Xia Pingan also followed him into the warehouse that was filled with wine and strolled around. The warehouse was filled with the rich aroma of wine. In this kind of warehouse, when moving things in and out of the warehouse, they would occasionally break the bottles and jars of wine. When the wine spilled on the ground, the aroma of the wine would linger for a long time. What kind of wine is this exquisite wine? Seeing that the front of the warehouse was filled with white porcelain jars and packaged in wooden frames, Xia Pingan asked Situ Hua beside him. Xia Pingan was really not familiar with the drinks of Shangjing City and the Great Shang Kingdom. This exquisite wine is a specialty of Yunzhou Province. These exquisite wine are all good wines that have been stored in caves for more than 10 years. The purchase price of such a jar is at least 30 gold coins. It would be even more expensive if it was sold. Situ Hua swallowed his saliva as he explained to Xia Pingan. Behind the mountain-like piles of exquisite wine, there were also boxes of blue glass bottles. It was called moonlight wine, which was also a famous wine of the Great Shang Kingdom. After the moonlight wine, there was also a famous wine called congealing dew in dark glass bottles. Other than that, the warehouse was also filled with famous wines from the Great Shang Kingdom, such as Chiliarch, Zifu, and Yangui. Sir, we found something here. A member of the inspection department who was inspecting the wine warehouse suddenly shouted. Xia Pingan walked over with his men. Well, there were two long dark green wooden boxes in the back of the warehouse that were filled with Zifu wine. They were too special. The two wooden boxes looked like a person with long hair who had emerged from a group of bald men. Open them and take a look, Xia Pingan said calmly. Yes. The wooden boxes were opened. Inside there were black rifles. One wooden box contained 10 rifles. Two wooden boxes contained 20 rifles. The Great Shang Kingdom had very strict gun control. Although private individuals were allowed to own guns, they had to go through the procedures. Furthermore, the gun business was exclusive to the state. Privately possessing more than 3 guns was a crime. The sale, transportation, and circulation of guns were strictly regulated. 2 boxes of guns were found in the warehouse. There were 20 rifles. They were all prohibited items. Smuggling guns was not a small crime. Immediately seal the warehouse and bring the relevant people to the inspection department for questioning, Xia Pingan ordered. Yes. On the other side, 2 boxes of guns and 2 boxes of bullets were also found in the silk warehouse. When the guns and bullets were moved out of the warehouse, the supervisor of the warehouse was dumbfounded. How could he know why there were 2 boxes of guns in the wine warehouse? Looking at the yellowish bullets and the oiled rifle, the warehouse manager's face turned pale with fright. Sir, I'm wronged. Sir, take him away. The people from the inspection department didn't say anything and directly took him away. A few minutes later, Li Heihu, the head of the axe gang in the dock, arrived with thousands of his brothers in a formidable horse-drawn carriage. All the members of Li Heihu were coolies in the dock. They were all strong and honest. However, if they were forced into a corner, they would fight you with axes. Inspector, Your Excellency. Li Heihu and over 1,000 members of the axe gang gave a salute to Xia Pingan by kneeling down on one knee. Why are there so many people? Xia Pingan asked with a smile. Your Excellency, I've called all the brothers who are not on duty today. Li Heihu answered. Go to move the goods. After that, leave 50 jars of exquisite wine for the brothers of the axe gang to taste. Thank you, Your Excellency. Li Heihu stood up and roared, Brothers, let's get to work. After that, the inspector will treat us to exquisite wine. Over 1,000 brothers of Li Heihu shouted as they started to move the goods in the warehouse like ants moving house. Xia Pingan called Situ Hua over. You're in charge of this place, right? Situ Hua revealed a confident smile as he licked his lips. Don't worry, Your Excellency, I'm in charge of this place. No problem. Your Excellency, are you going back to the inspection department? I've not finished yet. No hurry. I will take Huazichin and Fan Gang to number 6 pier. Number 6 pier? Your Excellency. Situ Hua became dumbfounded as he faintly remembered that there was nothing important at number 6 pier. He wondered why Xia Pingan wanted to check it. As the inspector, of course, I have to pay more attention to such an important place as the wharf. Xia Pingan replied with a smile as he didn't explain too much. After leaving the warehouse of Jiming Trading Company to Situ Hua, Xia Pingan got on a carriage and left the warehouse compound of Jiming Trading Company with Huazichin and Fan Gang. In less than 10 minutes, they had arrived at number 6 pier in the East Harbor district. It was another scene at the wharf. Huge ships that weighed tens of thousands of tons were lined up on the dock. Huge steam cranes were sliding back and forth on the rails of the dock. Countless people were busy here. They didn't even need to show their ID badges. The faces of Huazichin and Fan Gang, who often patrolled here, were the passes. They could pass through no. 6 pier unimpeded. Seeing that the inspector had come to check, the people in charge of port affairs, dispatch, and customs at number 6 pier hurried over to accompany him. The people from the inspection department walked in front, while the people in charge of the wharf followed beside Xia Pingan. They were responsible for explaining things to Xia Pingan and responding to any inquiries. Xia Pingan had already summoned the Black Dragon. Huazichin and Fan Gang originally didn't know what Xia Pingan wanted to do here, but when they saw Xia Pingan summon the Black Dragon, their faces instantly tensed up and became alert. After walking around the wharf for a while, Xia Pingan brought everyone to the berth of a huge cargo ship. The cargo ship was more than 200 meters long and was docked at the harbor. Looking up, the superstructure of the cargo ship was like a building. At the bow of the black cargo ship were 3 large white words, Fulong. This cargo ship was still waiting in line to be lifted and unloaded. Who owns this cargo ship? What's on it? Xia Pingan asked the person beside him. The person in charge at the wharf immediately flipped through the book in his hand and replied, Sir, according to the customs declaration, this Fulong cargo ship is carrying purple starwood and 10,000 dragon incense rice, a specialty of the 10,000 dragon archipelago in the south. The owner of this Fulong cargo ship is the Fulong Trading Company. This cargo ship is quite big, it displaces more than 36,000 tons. Okay, let's go up and take a look. Everyone went up the stairs to the ship. The captain and crew came out to greet, accompany, and inspect them. This cargo ship was divided into several huge compartments. These compartments were filled with things that had been transported from afar. They were huge pieces of purple starwood that were piled up like a mountain. Each piece of purple starwood was so thick that it would take several people to wrap their arms around it. In Shangjing City, purple starwood furniture was exclusive to rich and powerful families. Its value was self-evident. There were more than 10,000 tons of purple starwood on the ship. In addition to purple starwood, there were also more than 10,000 tons of 10,000 dragon incense rice. These 10,000 dragon incense rice were packed in gunny sacks and piled up like a mountain in the cabin. Xia Pingan, who was wandering around in the warehouse of the rice, suddenly asked the captain, "Is there any other cargo on this Fulong cargo ship?" "No, this is all the cargo. They are all filled with purple starwood and food," the captain replied. "Oh, is that so? Then let's go to the bottom of the warehouse to take a look." Hearing Xia Pingan's words, the captain's face slightly changed. However, he still smiled. "Sir, the bottom of this cargo ship is filled with various kinds of engine rooms. There are piles of coal and pipes everywhere. The air is also dirty. There's really nothing to see. It doesn't matter. The inspection department just likes to look at dirty places. If it's not dirty, I won't go," Xia Pingan said with a smile while touching the black dragon's head. The people present weren't fools. As soon as they heard Xia Pingan's words, everyone's eyes were fixed on the captain's face. Fan Gang, who was wearing a black robe, was like a ghost. Unknowingly, he was standing behind the captain. His gloomy eyes were staring at the captain's neck. Sweat immediately appeared on the captain's forehead. However, he had no other choice but to bring everyone to the bottom of the cargo ship to take a look. The air in the bottom of the cargo ship was dirty. It was narrow and dim. Everywhere was pitch black. The bottom of the cargo ship was densely covered with various kinds of complicated pipe. Xia Pingan flicked his finger and a large number of fireflies were summoned. The specks of starlight turned into floating lamps and illuminated the bottom of the cargo ship. Xia Pingan had already let go of the black dragon and let the black dragon lead the way. After entering the bottom of the cargo ship, the black dragon sniffed the air. After barking twice, it directly walked in a certain direction. Looking in the direction of the black dragon, the captain's head was sweating profusely. His legs were weak and he almost fell. "Haha, Fan Gang, help the captain. Let the captain walk properly. Don't let him fall." Xia Pingan laughed. Fan Gang reached out a hand and directly grabbed the captain's neck. He then led the captain forward. The black dragon directly led everyone to the coal bunker at the bottom of the cargo ship. The coal bunker was connected to the steam boiler at the bottom of the ship. This was where the coal was stored. Because Fulong had come from afar, there wasn't much coal left in the coal bunker. The huge coal bunker was gray and black everywhere. The ground was filled with cinders. Under the illumination of the fireflies, it looked like a huge funnel at the bottom of the ship. Woof woof woof. The black dragon ran into the coal bunker and barked. It even used its claws to scratch the steel walls of the coal bunker. The captain, who was grabbed by Fan Gang, was completely limp. He couldn't even stand steadily. His whole body was trembling like a sieve, and he was drenched in cold sweat. "Captain," the black dragon said that there's something in the coal bunker. "Let's open it and take a look." Xia Pingan glanced at the captain. Without waiting for him to speak, he directly took 2 steps forward and took out the scepter of adjudication. He urged his divine power and used the golden spearhead of the scepter of adjudication to hit the steel walls of the coal bunker. A golden light flashed. The scepter of adjudication instantly cut a 1-meter-long hole in the steel plates on both sides of the coal bunker like cutting cloth. The steel plates broke. In the next second, a dazzling scene appeared. From the broken hole, dazzling pearls poured out. The pearls danced cheerfully and poured into the cinders at the bottom of the coal bunker. The black cinders and the snow-white pearls created a strong visual impact. The number of pearls pouring down was definitely not 8 or 10. Instead, it was endless like sand pouring out of a cart. However, those pearls were much bigger than sand. They were round and plump, and the smallest one was as big as a longan. Apart from the white pearls, there were also black and purple pearls. The onlookers were dumbfounded. "These are 10,000 dragon pearls," A customs official at the port was dumbfounded. 10,000 dragon pearls were one of the most precious things produced in the 10,000 Dragon Archipelago. They were definitely a luxury good. Because the Shang dynasty didn't have them, the customs of the Shang dynasty imposed heavy taxes on these imported pearls. Of course, as long as there was profit, there would naturally be people who would take risks. It was not uncommon for summoners who possessed spatial equipment to smuggle these precious items. The customs of the Shang dynasty and the Judgment Army also had various methods to deal with them. There were layers of prevention and control measures. A battle of wits and courage between the two sides was a common occurrence. No one would have thought that these expensive 10,000 dragon pearls actually had this kind of smuggling method. They were hidden in the compartment of the coal bunker at the bottom of the ship. What's more, the number of pearls was absolutely shocking. Even though those dock officials at the scene boasted that they were experienced and knowledgeable, they had never seen 10,000 dragon pearls pouring down and piling up like sand in front of them. This was definitely a shocking case. The customs of Shangjing City hadn't encountered such a big case for many years. Someone who had the ability to smuggle so many 10,000 dragon pearls at once and had the ability to digest them was definitely not a nobody in Shangjing City. In the blink of an eye, the 10,000 dragon pearls pouring down had piled up to a meter high. It was still pouring down, and it was probably measured in tons. Hua Ziqin fiercely pinched her arm twice before shifting her gaze away from those pearls. Looking at those pearls, Hua Ziqin felt like she was about to drool. It was like a dream. Apart from being used as jewelry, 10,000 dragon pearls were also top-grade maintenance products for women. The main effect of 10,000 dragon pearls on women was to delay aging and make their skin white and tender. This was something used by the imperial concubines in the palace, and the latter was the reason why 10,000 dragon pearls were so precious. In addition, 10,000 dragon pearls were essential medicinal ingredients for several precious medicinal pills. Countless fireflies fluttered in the pitch-black coal bunker. Under the light of the fireflies, the precious 10,000 dragon pearls poured down from the coal bunker like a waterfall. They were as resplendent as a river of stars as they fell on the pitch-black coal. This scene was something that everyone present would never forget for the rest of their lives. Everyone was petrified. As the last few 10,000 dragon pearls rolled down from the cracks of the curled and cracked steel plate, everyone present suddenly woke up from that dreamlike scene. Everyone held their breaths as they looked at the pile of 10,000 dragon pearls that was more than 2 meters high at the bottom of the coal bunker. Their gazes were infatuated and shocked. Ahem, these are stolen goods and also evidence. I'll put them away first so that the thief won't be concerned about them. Xia Pingon stepped forward and waved his hand. A rolling mist covered those resplendent pearls. In the blink of an eye, the dreamlike pile of pearls was all collected by Xia Pingon into his space teleportation equipment. Everyone's gaze once again fell on Xia Pingon's face. From now on, the Eastport Supervision Office of the ruling army will officially seal up the Fulong. No one can touch the things on the Fulong without my permission. Fangang, take some people and arrest the shopkeeper of the Fulong Trading Company and all related people involved in this case. Xia Pingon directly ordered from the bottom of the coal bunker. Many of the people present were secretly thinking in their hearts that this time, someone in Shangjing City was going to be in big trouble. They just didn't know who that unlucky person was. Chapter 265. What? The warehouse of Jinming Trading Company was seized by the Donggang Supervision Office, and its bank account was also frozen. Lu Xing and several stewards were all arrested by the Donggang Supervision Office. The next evening, Li Chaoming, the director of the Jinyang District Police Station, was shocked by the bad news that his wife had just told him when he had just unbuttoned his police uniform. Li Chaoming's wife was sobbing beside him. Her makeup was ruined by her tears. She even grabbed Li Chaoming's sleeves. "Hurry up, get my brother out of there." That Department of Supervision of Donggang could even chop off the head of the governor's son. They're so ferocious. If anything happens to my brother in there, I'll die too. Don't cry. Why are you crying? Tell me, where did you get the news? Li Chaoming asked. The woman quickly stopped crying. However, she still sobbed. It's a guy who was in charge of the warehouse who told me about it. If he hadn't come back, I wouldn't have known that Jinming Trading Company was in trouble. That guy said that all the people in the trading company were arrested. He was also arrested by the Donggang Supervision Office. Later, the Donggang Supervision Office interrogated him and recorded a statement for him. Then he was released. That's why he came back to report the news. Motherf *Ker, rebel. Li Chaoming swore with a ferocious look. Even the fat on his face was quivering. I didn't find trouble for them, but they found trouble for me. What right does the Supervision Department of Donggang have to seal the warehouse of Jinming Trading Company? If they dare to do that, I will never let them off. According to that guy. This morning, before noon, a large number of people from the Donggang Supervision Office suddenly came to search the warehouse of Jinming Trading Company. The Donggang Supervision Office said that they received a tip-off that there were prohibited items in the warehouse, so they started to search. Then, when the Donggang Supervision Office searched the warehouse, they found several boxes of guns and some ammunition in the warehouse. Therefore, the Donggang Supervision Office seized the warehouse and arrested them. Guns and ammunition? Li Chaoming's head buzzed. As a police director, he certainly knew what it meant to find guns and ammunition in the warehouse. In Shangjing City, it was a serious crime to hide guns and ammunition. He was stunned for quite a while before he responded. Where did they come from? You're asking me. Who should I ask? Anyway, it was found in the warehouse. Did you ask Lu Xing to put it there? The woman sobbed and asked, I don't care. My brother is working for you. If something happens to him, you have to get him out. Bullsh *T. Why would I ask Lu Xing to put the guns and ammunition in the warehouse? There are plenty of those things in the police warehouse. Why would I want those things? Li Chaoming angrily paced back and forth at home. His heart trembled at the thought of Xia Pinggan's bloody battle on the long street that day. Ever since Li Chaoming heard the news that Xia Pinggan had left the Judgment Army's Ping Mountain Barracks this afternoon, he had a bad feeling. He had sources in the Judgment Army and heard that Xia Pinggan had not only been praised by Lord Di Long of the Supreme Court, but had also been rewarded with a judgment scepter by Lin Yi, the commander of the Judgment Army. The Judgment Army and the Supreme Court had already determined that Xia Pinggan's divine hound could track down the murderer of the QF women. Therefore, Xia Pinggan broke into the Huang mansion and killed Huang Wei on the street. Was this a fair enforcement of the law? The only thing Li Chaoming didn't expect was that Xia Pinggan's revenge would come so quickly. Damn, Xia Pinggan should have just returned to the inspection department in the morning, and then immediately seized his warehouse. If this wasn't revenge, then what was? It was impossible to put guns in his warehouse. Even if there were guns, the timing of the inspection by the Donggang Inspection Department was too damn coincidental. Therefore, this matter was obvious. It was Xia Pinggan who was playing tricks and framing him. However, it was useless for Li Chaoming to know about this matter. Everything depended on evidence. The inspection department had caught both the culprit and the stolen goods when they searched the warehouse. All the evidence was with the inspection department. Other people could do whatever they wanted. Li Chaoming didn't expect that in just 2 days, Xia Pinggan would get the judgment scepter and become a popular person in the Judgment Army. Moreover, Xia Pinggan had pinched his sore spot. To be honest, Li Chaoming wasn't afraid of Xia Pinggan, who had bravely broken into the Huang mansion and fought a bloody battle on the street. There were too many experts in Shangjing City, and they didn't lack 1 or 2 hotheads. However, the despicable and shameless Xia Pinggan, who could throw guns into his warehouse and then bring people to seal the warehouse, made Li Chaoming afraid from the bottom of his heart. The latter meant that Li Chaoming had provoked a ruthless person who would do anything to achieve his goal. This kind of person was definitely not someone you could fool with morality and law. Thinking back to the day when he intercepted Xia Pinggan's group on the street, Li Chaoming already regretted. The benefits that the Huang family gave him were completely disproportionate to the loss this time. Thinking about the famous wine and silk in the two warehouses, which were worth at least hundreds of thousands of gold coins, Li Chaoming felt like his flesh was cut off. If you didn't offend the Donggang inspection department, offend the inspector. Lu Xing wouldn't have been caught. The woman continued to cry. "Don't cry, I'll think of a way," Li Chaoming shouted. He didn't say anything to the woman. He buttoned up the buttons of his shirt that he had just unbuttoned, put on the police chief hat, and went out directly. After leaving his house, Li Chaoming asked the coachman to drive the carriage to the Huang mansion. No matter what, he got into trouble because he stood up for the Huang mansion. His loss must be known to the Huang mansion. At the same time, Li Chaoming also wanted to see if the Huang mansion had any ideas. When he arrived at the Huang mansion, the sun had completely set and the sky was dark. The gate of the Huang mansion was closed. 2 white lanterns were floating in front of the gate, swaying lifelessly. Those arrogant guards and servants of the Huang mansion who usually stood at the gate of the Huang mansion were all gone. Li Chaoming got off the carriage and came to the gate. He heavily knocked on the gate a few times. After waiting for a while, the side gate opened a crack. A steward of the Huang mansion carefully looked outside through the crack. In the past, the Huang mansion would definitely welcome Li Chaoming as a VIP, but today was different. Li Chaoming didn't even step into the gate of the Huang mansion, nor did he see anyone in charge of the Huang mansion. This was because the Huang mansion steward told him that just this afternoon, the Huang mansion received a verbal reprimand from the Crown Prince from the palace. The Crown Prince reprimanded the Huang mansion for being corrupt and lacking discipline. First, the Huang mansion didn't teach their children well. Second, the Huang mansion servants were bossy and domineering. This time, if it weren't for Huang Zheng's loyalty to the country, he wouldn't have let the Huang mansion off so easily. The Crown Prince wanted the Huang mansion to reflect on themselves. After receiving the Crown Prince's reprimand, the Huang mansion was completely listless. They had no choice but to tuck their tails between their legs and refuse to see outsiders. After being rejected at the Huang manor and being reprimanded by the Crown Prince, Li Chaoming was also listless. In the end, after thinking about it, he gritted his teeth and had no choice but to shamelessly ask the driver to drive to the Eastport Supervision Office. When he arrived at the inspection department, the sky was completely dark. Li Chaoming wanted to see Xia Pinggan. Lu Alaoju squinted at Li Chaoming from the gate of the inspection department and revealed his yellow teeth. He didn't give Li Chaoming any face at all. He didn't open the gate at all. The inspector has already left. If you want to see the inspector, come back tomorrow. Li Chaoming smiled. Then may I ask when Lord Xia will arrive at the inspection department tomorrow? I don't know. Maybe early, maybe late, or maybe not at all. As for Lord's whereabouts, we can't ask. Looking at the closed gate of the inspection department, Li Chaoming sighed and helplessly sat in the carriage to go home. Just as he got home, he didn't even have time to drink water when he received another piece of news. In just half a day, the inspection department of the Eastport had already disposed of all the famous wine and silk in his warehouse as stolen goods. Even the money in Jinming Trading Company's bank account was taken out by the inspection department of the Eastport along with his brother-in-law Lu Xing and confiscated as stolen goods. Li Chaoming almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Originally, he would only use these methods to make money when he was messing with others. Unexpectedly, he became the one who was messed with today. Xia Pinggan, you bastard, I'm not done with you. Li Chaoming was so angry that he trembled all over. The ginseng tea spilled out of the teacup and burned his hand. Li Chaoming fiercely smashed the teacup onto the ground, smashing it into pieces. Chapter 266. While Li Chaoyang was cursing Xia Pingan at home, Beitang Wangchuan was also having a headache over Xia Pingan in the imperial palace. In the study, Beitang Wangchuan rubbed his forehead and looked at Lin Yi helplessly and angrily. Beitang Wangchuan's expression was complicated while Lin Yi was expressionless. When Lin Yi received Xia Pingan's report, he was also shocked, but this matter was too tricky. As the commander of the Judgment Army, he could not manage the matters of the garrison army. He could only report it to His Highness the Crown Prince and let His Highness the Crown Prince deal with it. Garrison Army. Garrison Army, is Xia Pingan not mistaken? Beitang Wangchuan still did not dare to believe it. Verification, physical evidence, the actual controller of Fu Long Trading Company, as well as the flow of funds, all point to Lei Hiyang of the Garrison Army. This matter involves many people behind the Garrison Army. The Judgment Army's investigation can only stop here. Everything will be decided by His Highness. Lin Yi did not want to take on this hot potato, and could only throw it out. Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan. Beitang Wangchuan repeated this name and felt his head buzzing. This matter was too tricky. Even Beitang Wangchuan had to be careful. Lei Hiyang was the deputy commander of the Garrison Army. This case involved many people from the Garrison Army. Most importantly, he did not know how many people from the Garrison Army would be involved in this matter. I remember that Xia Pingan left the Pingshan barracks this morning? Yes, he left the Pingshan barracks this morning and solved this smuggling case in the afternoon. The results of the interrogation came out in the evening. Because it involved the Garrison Army, the inspection department could not arrest people, so he handed over all the stolen goods from Fu Long Trading Company's case files to me. The value of those 10,000 dragon pearls is at least tens of millions of gold coins. The amount is shocking. Lin Yi also spread out his hands. Seeing Beitang Wangchuan's complicated expression, Lin Yi could not help but remind him, cough cough, before Xia Pingan went to arrest people from the Huang Manor, the Garrison Army sent people to intercept him on the street. The person behind the order seemed to be Lei Hiyang. Lei Hiyang. Beitang Wangchuan immediately reacted. No wonder Xia Pingan acted so quickly. This was revenge. But he could not say that Xia Pingan was wrong because this was truly a big case. Strictly speaking, the inspection department of Dongport had done a meritorious service. It was just that this was a bit troublesome for Beitang Wangchuan. Lin Yi's the inspection department of the other case was. But that case only was just a small matter of a small matter. Wangchuan Wangchuan. Was Wangchuan was. Wang Wangchuan. Wang Wangchuan Wangchuan. Wang Wangchuan. Wangchuan Wang. Beitang Wangchuan took a few deep breaths. Then he remembered something. How did Xia Pingan discover that the ship was smuggling so many 10,000 dragon pearls so quickly? It seems to be the dog that he summoned. The dog that he summoned is indeed supernatural and extraordinary. It's his dog again? And Beitang Wangchuan was speechless. Xia Pingan summoned his dog twice, and caused such a big commotion in Shangjing City. This was something he did not expect. He walked around the study a few times with his hands behind his back. In the end, his gaze became resolute and he said in a deep voice, "This matter involves the Garrison Army. I will deal with it. The internal discussion and investigation between the ruling army and the inspection department will end here. Before the results come out, this matter must be dealt with in a low-key manner. Do not make a big deal out of it." Yes. Lin Yi then left. Beitang Wangchuan was in his study, lightly tapping on the table with a deep gaze. Behind the screen in the study, a beautiful woman wearing a light yellow dress with her hair tied up like clouds walked in. Arriving behind Beitang Wangchuan, She let Beitang Wangchuan's head lean against her towering breast. She then reached out her slender fingers and gently massaged Beitang Wangchuan's forehead and temples. Beitang Wangchuan's expression immediately relaxed and he slowly closed his eyes. "Congratulations, Your Highness! Congratulations, Your Highness!" That woman massaged Beitang Wangchuan's forehead to relax while she spoke. "What is there to congratulate? The East Port Inspection Department has placed the blade to deal with the garrison army in Your Highness' hands. If this matter is handled well, the garrison army will definitely be loyal to Your Highness in the future. This is a good opportunity for Your Highness to subdue the garrison army. Your Highness truly has good foresight. That Xia Pingan is truly Your Highness' good fortune. How could I not understand this logic? It's just that the atmosphere in Shangjing City is different right now. The Blood Demon Church is restless and Father Emperor is about to return. If this matter is not handled well, the implications will be too great and the garrison army will become unstable. It will only be counterproductive. If this matter is not handled well, I will not be able to answer to the country and the law." The woman behind Beitang Wangchuan revealed her teeth and smiled. "The initiative in this matter is in Your Highness' hands. What does Your Highness have to worry about? Your Highness has always been wise, but at this moment, you have gotten yourself into trouble. In my opinion, this matter is extremely simple. Your Highness does not need to say anything and does not need to do anything. Your Highness only needs to find time to inspect the garrison army and give each of the important people in the garrison army a 10,000 dragon pearl. Your Highness only needs to wait for them to surrender and admit their mistakes. At that time, Your Highness will show both kindness and power. In the future, this garrison army will definitely be loyal to Your Highness. That Xia Pingan was so domineering in the Huang manor before and did not compromise at all. However, he handled this matter in such a low-key manner and was not flamboyant at all. This is purposely giving Your Highness a chance to repay Your Highness. Your Highness, can't you see it? Beitang Wangchuan's closed eyes suddenly opened, and he froze for a moment before laughing loudly. Standing up, he turned around and picked up the woman behind him and spun her around a few times before placing her back on the ground. He then kissed the woman's face. "Ha ha ha, you are my lucky star." The woman smiled shyly. "Your Highness usually has too many things to think about and has to deal with a myriad of affairs every day. You are not as meticulous as us women. I did not think that this matter could be resolved like this. I am just giving some advice to Your Highness. That Xia Pingan has such ability. If Your Majesty can make good use of him, he will definitely be of great help to Your Highness. Your Highness must not look down on this person and must win him over as soon as possible. When Your Majesty returns, Prince Jing will also return." Hearing Prince Jing's name, a dark cloud flashed past the corner of Beitang Wangchuan's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. In the blink of an eye, Beitang Wangchuan smiled again. "Many thanks for my beloved concubine's reminder. That Xia Pingan indeed cannot be underestimated. He has done such a great service this time, so I should indeed express my gratitude. Beloved concubine, how do you think I can win him over? Xia Pingan is a spacewalker. Those spacewalkers all want to become gods and destroy the Dark Tower. The path to becoming a god is uncertain. What they want the most is strength. Your Highness, as long as you provide him with what he needs, he will definitely be moved to tears and be willing to serve Your Majesty." Beloved concubine's words are great. At the same time, on the Tianyuan Bridge today was a sunny day, and the Tianyuan Bridge became lively again at night. People began to set up stalls on the roadside. Those bounty hunters who were hanging around the capital took out their newly obtained boundary pearls and began to sell them. Xia Pingan turned back into Yang City's appearance and strolled around the Tianyuan Bridge. Whenever he saw a stall selling boundary pearls, he would go over and look at the price. If it was suitable, he would buy it. The series of battles that day when he left the Huang residence, especially the final battle with the Seven Sun Realm expert, made Xia Pingan understand that strength was his foundation. His desire for boundary pearls made Xia Pingan determined to reach the Four Sun Realm as soon as possible, or even the Five Sun Realm. In just a few days, the price of boundary pearls in the capital rose. Fortunately, he had a great harvest today, and his wallet was bulging again. Xia Pingan strolled around the Tianyuan Bridge at night. He was no longer stingy with his gold coins and began to buy boundary pearls in large quantities. After strolling around the night market for less than half an hour, Xia Pingan spent more than 40,000 gold coins and bought more than 30 boundary pearls. These boundary pearls were all bought from different stalls. He even bought a few from the treasure pearl forest, so they didn't attract much attention. After buying the boundary pearls, Xia Pingan put them in his spatial storage. After buying the boundary pearls, Xia Pingan went to the pharmacy on the Tianyuan Bridge and spent a lot of money to buy a few bottles of Shunli Dan that could replenish god power during battle. Shunli Dan in this world was divided into many grades, and they weren't cheap. The price of the Shunli Dan sold in the pharmacy was simple and crude. It was basically equivalent to 1 gold coin buying a Shunli Dan that could replenish 1 point of god power. Shunli Dan that could replenish 50 points of god power was called first-grade Shunli Dan and was priced at 50 gold coins. Shunli Dan that could replenish 100 points of god power was called second-grade Shunli Dan and was priced at 100 gold coins. The price of Shunli Dan and the price of rune bullets that consumed god power were seriously inverted. Even so, for many summoners, Shunli Dan was still something they had to buy and prepare. Shunli Dan, a life-saving consumable for rich summoners. Rune bullets, a life-saving skill for poor summoners. After buying the items, Xia Pingan went to the Duke of Zhou's building again and found that there were many people watching the commotion every day, but there was still no business. There really weren't many idiots who were willing to spend 100 gold coins to interpret dreams. Xia Pingan wasn't in a hurry. After returning to the Duke of Zhou's building, he began to prepare to fuse with the boundary pearls in the basement. He had to advance to the Four Sun Realm first. P.S. Today's second chapter will be slightly later. Chapter 267. Was this the capital city of the Wei Kingdom, Daliang? Xia Pingan opened his eyes and found himself standing at a city gate, staring blankly at the carriages coming and going. He raised his head and looked at the gate. Sure enough, there were 2 words above the gate: E-sect. Xia Pingan raised his hand again and looked at it. His hand was abnormally old, like a chicken's claw. The skin on the back of his hand was dry and wrinkled. There were also some age spots like old tree bark. It was obvious that his hand was old. He lowered his head and saw that his white beard was hanging down to his chest. He was wearing a set of relatively clean grayish-blue old clothes. The clothes were patched and there was a leather belt around his waist. There was a bronze sword on the belt. His age and his attire could only be described as pitiful. There were a few gangsters from Daliang near the city gate. They were the people who made a living on the street. They were squatting under the eaves of a noodle shop near the city gate, and looking at the people coming and going with a sneaky gaze. Xia Pingan looked at the gangsters. They immediately smiled and shrank their heads. They seemed to be in awe of Xia Pingan. It was indeed Hoing, Xia Pingan thought to himself. This realm pearl was the one he had bought at the night market at the Tianyuan Bridge. This realm pearl looked gray and only had the words Hoing on it. Even the seller and the onlookers didn't know what kind of realm pearl it was. They didn't know what this realm pearl could summon, so it wasn't expensive. Due to the rising price of realm pearls and the fact that no one would die from the failed fusion, this realm pearl cost Xia Pingan 1,460 gold coins. Yes, there were also some obscure and strange realm beads in the Yuanxia world. Those realm beads did not have corresponding divine sense crystals, or the corresponding divine sense crystals were too rare to be seen in hundreds of years. Therefore, no one could fuse with these realm beads. Or perhaps there were very few people who could fuse with these realm beads in history. Therefore, these realm beads were similar to the black box realm bead. Almost no one knew what kind of secret technique could be obtained after fusing with these realm bead. When he saw the words Ho-ing on the realm pearl, Xia Pingan bought this realm pearl without hesitation. This was because Xia Pingan knew that in history there was only one person with the name Ho-ing who had left a wonderful mark in the history books. This Ho-ing was a standard nobody. It was this nobody named Ho-ing who had helped the famous Xinling Lord achieve his goal. This was the fourth realm pearl that Xia Pingan had fused tonight. Before this realm pearl, Xia Pingan had fused 3 realm pearls consecutively, namely Deceiving Ears and Stealing the Bell, Snake Shadow in a Cup, and Een. The Deceiving Ears and Stealing the Bell realm pearl could obtain a special summoning technique after the fusion. This summoning technique was called the silent enchantment. This enchantment could isolate sound within a certain range. The Snake Shadow in a Cup realm pearl could make the enemy frantic, bewildered, and affect their combat strength. As for the Een realm pearl, it was even more interesting. Een was originally a slave who assisted Qing Tang in building the Shang dynasty to destroy the Xia. He was also the founder of the Shang dynasty in history. It could be said that without Een and his spies, the Xia dynasty would not have been destroyed so easily. The Een realm pearl also gave Xia Pingan 2 interesting techniques. When Ho-ing left his name in history, he was already 70 years old. He was a gatekeeper of the Yi sect of Daliang in the Wei Kingdom. The current monarch of the Wei Kingdom was Wei De, who was also known as the Wei Only monarch. In the Wei Kingdom, the person who was more famous than the Wei Only monarch was the Xinling monarch Wei Wuji. This was the era of the 4 young masters of the Warring States period. It was an era of dazzling stars and heroes. Xia Pingan was still sizing up the people coming and going at the city gate. 2 magnificent carriages pulled by 4 black horses were already coming from within the city towards here. The 2 carriages were still some distance away from the city gate, but they attracted the attention of the people at the city gate and on the street. It couldn't be helped. Those 2 carriages were too eye-catching. To the people of this era, those carriages were too eye-catching. Uncle Ho, that's the Xinling monarch's carriage. I've seen the driver before. A guard wearing leather armor and holding a long halberd told Xia Pingan. They're here so soon? Xia Pingan muttered in his heart. Then, he said to the few soldiers guarding the door, "Everyone, cheer up." There was no need for Xia Pingan to say anything. The guards at the Yimen gate had already straightened their backs, not daring to be careless in the slightest. The 2 carriages rolled along the road and finally stopped at the city gate of the Yimen gate. The driver of the carriage alighted and placed a stool on the ground. Then, he respectfully opened the door of the carriage. As soon as the door opened, a 7-foot-tall man with dashing eyebrows lowered his head and alighted from the carriage. A few attendants also alighted from the carriage behind. Each of them held a gift box in their hands. It looked expensive. When the people around the city gate saw the man, they hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Xinling monarch. Lord Xinling was a household name in Daliang City and the Wei nation. Furthermore, Lord Xinling had many retainers in Daliang City and often appeared in public. Therefore, almost all the citizens in Daliang City knew him. Xia Pingan also looked at Xinling monarch alighting from the carriage and nodded to himself. Xinling monarch was very handsome and had an extraordinary bearing. He was indeed worthy of being one of the 4 young masters of the Warring States period. Xinling monarch Wei Wuji alighted from the carriage. His gaze swept across the crowd and landed on Xia Pingan. He saw that despite his age, Xia Pingan was full of energy. His eyes were bright and he wore the uniform of a gatekeeper. Wei Wuji walked over with a smile and took the initiative to bow. "Is this Mr. Ho?" Hoing greets Xinling monarch. Xia Pingan bowed to Xinling monarch. The people around them were watching the show. None of them dared to breathe. Xinling monarch smiled. I have long heard that Daoyang's sect supervisor Ho Ying is a virtuous man. He has been in the army for decades. He fights bravely and empathizes with his soldiers. He has spent all his wealth to take care of the families of his comrades who died in battle. He has been loyal to the sect supervisor and has never made a mistake. I am here today to visit Mr. Ho. Xinling monarch waved his hand. The attendants behind him walked over and opened the gift boxes. Instantly, the people around them gasped in surprise. The attendants behind Xinling monarch carried money and jewels. Silk and satin worth tens of thousands of taels of gold. This was Xinling monarch's magnanimity. When he heard that a virtuous man had come, he immediately paid him a visit with tens of thousands of taels of gold. Those who did not know Ho Ying's history and had not fused with a spirit crystal would definitely be stunned. Xia Pingan calmly said to Xinling monarch, I have cultivated for decades. I cannot accept Mr. Ho's generous gifts just because I am poor. Please take them back. Xinling monarch was taken aback. He had rushed overexcitedly, but he had never expected this Ho Ying to refuse his generous gift. He had never met such a person before. Mr. Ho Ying is of noble character. It was I who was rude. Xinling monarch bowed to Xia Pingan and waved his hand, dismissing the attendants with the gift. I will visit Mr. Ho Ying another day. With that, Xinling monarch did not linger. He returned to his carriage and headed back. The crowd was shocked. First, they were shocked at Xinling monarch's courtesy. Second, they were shocked at Xia Pingan's rejection of Xinling monarch's generous gift. The crowd was abuzz with discussion. After Xinling monarch left, the city gate gradually regained its peace. However, at noon, a burly man with a black head and a black face could be seen. He was bare-chested, with a pig leash and a butcher's knife hanging from his waist. He was pulling a large black pig through the gate. Zhu Hai, you've gone to collect pigs again. The soldiers guarding the gate greeted the man who was driving the pigs. I'm a butcher. If I don't drive pigs, do I drive people? The man driving the pig smiled and said to Xia Pingan, Old man, I heard you rejected Xinling monarch's gift today. Ha ha ha, I'm going to kill a pig today. Remember to come to my house for a drink later. We'll have a pig's loin to go with the wine and nourish you. Xia Pingan smiled and nodded. This job at the gate was easy. After drinking with Zhu Hai, Xia Pingan slowly got used to his new identity. 3 days later, Xia Pingan was still at the gate of the gate, watching. Xinling monarch's carriage came again. However, this time, it was Xinling monarch himself who drove the carriage. Xinling monarch drove the carriage to the city gate and got off. He held the reins and said to Xia Pingan, Today, I will be hosting a banquet at my home. I specially invite Mr. Ho Ying to attend. The crowd was in an uproar. They all looked at Xia Pingan enviously. Xinling monarch was actually driving the carriage for Ho Ying. This treatment was too grand. Chapter 268. Even King Wei only didn't have the honor of having Lord Xinling personally lead the carriage. Seeing Lord Xinling standing beside the carriage with his guillotine in hand, the city gates fell silent. At this time, under the gazes of the crowd, Xia Pingan did not show the slightest bit of modesty. He lifted his long robe and directly boarded the carriage, sitting to the left of the driver. Lord Xinling also climbed into the carriage and sat to Xia Pingan's right. With a shake of the reins, he prepared to drive the carriage back to his residence. Lord Xinling's attendants followed closely behind in the carriage. Young master, I have another friend who sells meat in a butcher shop in the market up ahead. I'd like to pay him a visit before heading to your residence for the banquet. Xia Pingan said to Lord Xinling. Lord Xinling glanced at Xia Pingan and smiled. Daoyang's Eastern Market? That's right. Turn left up ahead. Lord Xinling drove the carriage and turned left. It didn't take long for the carriage to reach Daliang's eastern market. The place where the meat was sold was the marketplace of the city. It was noisy and messy, filled with peddlers and vendors. When Xinling Jun arrived with his carriage, the entire marketplace was in an uproar. Countless people ran out to watch. Zhu Hai had a stall selling pork here. He was using a knife to chop the bones. With each chop, the muscles on his body trembled. Xia Pingan got out of the car and went straight to Zhu Hai's meat stall to chat with him. Lord Xinling was still standing by the side of the street, waiting with his guillotine in hand. "Old man, Lord Xinling is already driving for you." Zhu Hai looked up at Xia Pingan as he chopped bones. "I was thinking of inviting you over for a drink today." "Ha ha ha, I won't drink with you today. I'll go to Lord Xinling's residence to drink." "Is the wine at Lord Xinling's residence better than mine?" "I've never tasted it before, I don't know. It's not good for you to go empty-handed. You'll be eating and drinking for free. Why don't you bring a kidney as a greeting gift?" Zhu Hai joked. "I won't bring it. You can bring it for him next time." Xia Pingan and Zhu Hai bragged as they chatted. Both of them laughed heartily. Xinling Jun was watching from afar. His expression was gentle and polite, without a hint of impatience. Xia Pingan glanced at Xinling Jun, thinking, this Xinling Jun's bearing is truly incomparable. If a normal person had a bit of success, they would walk with their nostrils facing the sky. How could they be like Xinling Jun? Lord Xinling's attitude did not change, but the attendants following Lord Xinling all glared angrily at Xia Pingan, gnashing their teeth. "Milord, Prime Minister, Generals, young master is still waiting for young master to return for the banquet. This old man is too much." A servant whispered to Xinling Jun, "It's fine. Let them wait. Today's banquet is prepared for Hoing. If he's not here, then the banquet will be meaningless. Extraordinary people have extraordinary abilities," Xinling Jun said calmly. Xinling Jun waited for a while longer before Xia Pingan finished chatting with Zhu Hai and walked over. "Sorry to have kept you waiting, young master. We can go now." "Sir, please get in." Xinling Jun respectfully invited Xia Pingan into the carriage, then drove back to his residence. 10 minutes later, Xia Pingan followed Xinling Jun to his residence. There was indeed a grand banquet being held at Xinling Jun's residence. Many nobles and important people of Daliang City were present. They had been waiting for the banquet to begin for a long time. Finally, they saw Xinling Jun bring an old man with white hair and a white beard to the banquet. Xinling Jun even let the old man sit at the main table next to him. The crowd looked at each other, speechless. "Everyone, this gentleman beside me is Hoing, Daliang's E-sect supervisor. He is also a virtuous man of Wei." Xinling Jun introduced Xia Pingan to the people at the banquet, and also introduced the important people attending the banquet to Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan was calm and composed at the banquet. He drank when he should, ate when he should, ate when he should, and was not restrained in the slightest. The nobles of Daliang all clicked their tongues in wonder. After the banquet, Xinling Jun personally escorted Xia Pingan out of the residence. Xia Pingan then said to Xinling Jun, "Thank you for your hospitality today, young master. However, I have done enough for young master today. I am just a small gatekeeper. Today, young master has come to welcome me. I should not have gone to visit friends. I went to visit friends only to help young master's reputation. When others saw young master's carriage stop in the streets for a small person like me, and young master was so courteous to a small person like me in public, everyone knew that young master was a generous and courteous person. If young master were to recruit more worthy people, everyone would be loyal and respond." When Xinling Jun heard Xia Pingan's words, he paused, then bowed again to Xia Pingan in gratitude. "I did not expect Sir Ho to be so thoughtful. Thank you for your help. Although Zhu Hai, whom I visited today, is a butcher, he is brave and resourceful. He is a hero hidden in the marketplace. If young master can subdue him, He will definitely be of help to young master. Xinling Jun thanked him again. After leaving Xinling Jun's residence, Xia Pingan continued to work as E-sect supervisor. When he had time, he would go find Zhu Hai and a few of his old friends to drink. The salary of E-sect supervisor was mostly used to help the families of his former comrades. Xinling Jun visited Zhu Hai a few times, but Zhu Hai was unmoved. He continued to slaughter pigs and sell meat in the streets every day. Xia Pingan was waiting for the right time. He was also secretly preparing. He was using his friends to find someone. In fact, he did not have to wait for long. In less than half a year, what Xia Pingan had been waiting for happened. The Qin army defeated the Zhao army in the Battle of Chongping and killed 400,000 Zhao soldiers. They shocked the world. Then they surrounded Handan. Zhao was in danger. Xinling Jun's sister was the wife of Lord Pingyuan, the younger brother of King Zhao Huiwen. She had sent many letters to King Wei and Xinling Jun asking for help. Under these circumstances, Wei could not sit by and watch Zhao be destroyed by Qin. Therefore, King Wei sent General Jinbi to lead 100,000 Wei soldiers to rescue Zhao. The king of Wei was timid and hesitant when doing things. After the king of Qin knew that the Wei kingdom was going to rescue the Zhao kingdom, he sent a messenger to Daliang and told the king of Wei that the Qin kingdom would be able to attack the Zhao kingdom in a matter of days. If the Wei kingdom dared to rescue the Zhao kingdom at this juncture, the Qin kingdom's next target would definitely be the Wei kingdom. Hearing this, King Wei almost peed his pants. He hurriedly sent a messenger to catch up with Jinbi and have him stop at Yi to observe the situation. Zhao had been waiting for Wei's army to rescue them. Seeing that Wei's army had stopped at Yi, Lord Pingyuan panicked and immediately sent a messenger to Daliang. On that cold and bleak evening, Xia Pingan stood at the E-sect gate and saw the second wave of Zhao's messengers. There were about 70 of them. They rode horses and drove carriages. They were travel-worn and weary as they slowly entered Daliang from the E-sect gate. The Zhao messengers entered Daliang and stayed at a hotel. Then, a carriage rushed to Lord Xinling's residence. Less than 20 minutes after the Zhao messengers arrived at Lord Pingyuan's residence, a green-skinned man in the city ran to Xia Pingan and told him the news. "Uncle Ho, the Zhao messengers have already gone to Lord Xinling's residence." "Okay, I got it." Xia Pingan gave the green-skinned man some money. The green-skinned man thanked him and left. Then, Xia Pingan left the city gate, bought some wine, and went to Zhu Hai's house. Zhu Hai was stewing pork trotters at home. Xia Pingan came at the right time. Eating pork trotters and drinking wine, Xia Pingan said to Zhu Hai, "Don't use your butcher knife. It's time to take out your hammer. If you don't use it now, it will rust and you won't have a chance to use it again." Zhu Hai put down his wine bowl, his eyes shining. He looked at Xia Pingan and said, "Okay. After dinner, come with me to kill someone." "Kill who?" "Someone who deserves to be killed." "Okay." After the two of them finished drinking, they left Zhu Hai's house. Xia Pingan brought Zhu Hai on horseback and left Daliang in the cold wind. After searching for several months, Xia Pingan finally found that person's trail. Today, it was time to take that person's head. At the same time, in Lord Xinling's residence, the Zhao messengers were kneeling before Lord Xinling, reading the letter written by Lord Pingyuan to Lord Xinling in tears. "Victory, so I offered myself as a marriage partner. With young master's righteousness, how can you help others in trouble? Today, Handan surrendered to Qin, and Wei failed to save you. How can young master help others in trouble? Moreover, young master easily won and gave up on Qin. Do you not pity young master's sister?" Lord Xinling looked at Lord Pingyuan's messengers with shame and sighed. "It's not that I can't save her, but I can't convince the king. In the past month, I've gone to the palace several times to see the king. I've told him that I'm powerful, but the king won't listen. He's afraid of Qin's revenge. If young master can't save Zhao, then who can? The Zhao messengers smiled bitterly. Can young master bear to see Zhao and young master's sister fall under Qin's cavalry? Hearing the Zhao envoy's words, Lord Xinling said generously, although I can't convince the king, I won't just watch Zhao die. I swear to fight to the death with Qin. If the Yi army doesn't move, I'm willing to lead my retainers to Handan to save Zhao. I'll fight to the death with the Qin army, even if it costs me my life. The Zhao messenger didn't expect Lord Xinling to be so righteous. He cried and knelt down again. Lord Xinling is righteous. I'm willing to lead the way to Handan. The reason why Lord Xinling wanted to lead his men of sacrifice to save the Zhao was not on a whim, but because he had lost all hope in the King of Wei. This was the last resort. The King of Wei was afraid of the Qin and had ordered the army not to move. Right now, the entire world was looking at the Wei, and the entire Wei was looking at him, Lord Xinling. If he did not save the Zhao, not to mention whether the Wei would be able to survive for a few more days after the Qin destroyed the Zhao, he would become the laughingstock of the world. How could a person who could not even save his own sister talk about righteousness and reputation? That night, Lord Xinling's residence wasn't peaceful. The neighing of horses could be heard at any time. The next day, early in the morning, hundreds of cavalry carriages drove out of Lord Xinling's residence. The men on the horses carried bows and armor, looking heroic. Since Wei's army didn't move, Lord Xinling personally led his retainers to Handan to save Zhao. He wanted to face Qin alone. When Lord Xinling led his retainers out of the E-gate, he saw Xia Pingan stomping his feet at the city gates, warming his hands. Lord Xinling dismounted and bid farewell to Xia Pingan. Mr. Ho, I'm going to save Zhao. I'm afraid I won't be able to return. I've come to bid farewell to you. Xia Pingan smiled. Work hard, mister. I'm old and can't move anymore. I won't go. Lord Xinling forced a smile, got back on his horse, and left with his retainers. Along the way, Lord Xinling felt more and more uncomfortable. He felt like he had lost something. Lord Xinling thought to himself, everyone knows about my treatment of Ho Ying. Today, I'm going to die in Zhao. Why didn't Ho Ying say anything? Did I do something wrong? Xia Pingan was at the city gates, watching Lord Xinling leave. He knew Lord Xinling would definitely return. Sure enough, not long after, he saw Lord Xinling return with his retainers. Seeing him, Lord Xinling dismounted and sincerely asked for advice again. Xia Pingan then said, Mister, you respect scholars and your reputation is known all over the world. Now that you're in trouble and have no other choice, you want to bring these men to fight the Qin army to the death. This is like using meat to fight a tiger. What's the point? That tiger can't wait for Mister to come to its door. Mister, have you thought about how big of a blow it will be to Wei if you die? In the future, how many people will be left in Wei to fight the Qin? Mister's actions are unwise. What do you need your retainers for? Hearing Xia Pingan's words, Xinling Jun began to sweat profusely. He hurriedly asked Xia Pingan if there was any other way. Xia Pingan brought Lord Xinling to a secret place near the city gate. Then he said to Lord Xinling, I heard that the tiger tally that can mobilize the Jin army is by the king's side. Other than the king, the only person in the entire palace who can get close to the tiger tally is the king's favorite Ruji. As long as Mr. can get Ruji to steal the tiger tally for Mr. can take the tiger tally to the Jin army and mobilize the army to save Zhao. Isn't this better than Mr. leading hundreds of loyalists to die in Handan? Lord Xinling perked up when he heard this, but then he frowned. Ruji is the king's favorite. How can I get Ruji to do such a dangerous thing for me? If the king finds out, Ruji will be sentenced to death. Xia Pingan sighed. Mister, do you know that 3 years ago, Ruji's father was killed? Ruji put a bounty on the person who killed her father. The king gave the order to capture him, but the person who killed Ruji's father was never caught? I've heard of this. I heard that although Ruji is a woman, her integrity is no less than a man's. As long as Mr. can bring Ruji the head of the person who killed Ruji's father and let Ruji take revenge, and then ask Ruji to steal the tiger tally for Mr., Ruji will definitely repay Mr. with her life. When Lord Xinling heard this, he was both surprised and happy, but also worried. The person who killed Ruji's father has been on the run for 3 years. Where am I going to find him in such a short time? If Zhao can't hold on, then everything will be in vain. Xia Pingan clapped his hands. Zhu Hai, holding a box, pushed open the door and walked in. Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Hoing has no way to repay you. I've found Ruji's enemy. His head is in the box. Mr. only needs to bring the head to Ruji. Ruji will definitely be able to steal the tiger tally. Lord Xinling was overjoyed. He opened the box in Zhu Hai's hands. Sure enough, there was a head inside. The face was clear. It should have been killed not long ago. Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Mr., please take the commander's tally. Remember, when a general is away, the ruler's orders cannot be obeyed. When you reach Yi City, you can bring Zhu Hai to see Jin Bai. If Jin Bai listens to Mr.'s orders after seeing the commander's tally, everything will be fine. If he doesn't, Zhu Hai can help Mr. kill Jin Bai and help Mr. control the army, Lord Xinling cried when he heard Xia Pingan's words. Jin Bai is an old general of Wei. He's loyal to Wei and is very dignified. I only have one commander's tally. I'm afraid he won't listen to orders. I can only kill him. Xia Pingan also sighed and didn't speak. Although Xinling Jun was sad, he recovered in the blink of an eye. At a time like this, he naturally knew what was important and what was not. Thank you for your advice, Mr. I'll go see Ruji now. Please help me, Zhu Hai. I'm willing to help, Mr. Zhu Hai said in a low voice. Soon, Xinling Jun brought Zhu Hai and a few attendants back into the city to handle some matters. Although Ruji was in the palace, it wasn't difficult for Lord Xinling to see her. After seeing Ruji, Xian Ling Jun took out the head of Ruji's father's murderer and offered it to her. Ruji recognized the person and wept. After Xian Ling Jun told her his request, Ruji agreed without hesitation. That night, Lord Xinling returned to the city with Zhu Hai and a few attendants. He rode out of the city and bid farewell to Xia Pingan at the E-Gate. Ho Ying's plan succeeded. Lord Xinling got the commander's tally and rushed to Yi City with his retainers and loyalists. Xia Pingan stood guard at the city gates, watching Lord Xinling leave with his men. In his heart, he muttered, "Break, break, break!" The world was still intact. There was no sign of it shattering. Xia Pingan waited for a day. The world of the Boundary Pearl didn't shatter. 2 days. The world of the Boundary Pearl still didn't shatter. 3 days. The world of the Boundary Pearl still didn't shatter. This time, Xia Pingan's heart began to pound. Ho Ying was the true mastermind behind Lord Xinling's theft of the talisman to save Zhao. This was an example of a minor character changing history and the fate of a great nation. Hadn't Ho Ying completed his mission? Why hadn't the Boundary Pearl shattered? In history, when Ho Ying sent Lord Xinling off, he said, "A minister should follow, but an old man can't. Please count your days until the day you advance to my army. The northern country will commit suicide to send you off." Xia Pingan didn't say these words. Was he really going to commit suicide? If he committed suicide in the Boundary Pearl, wouldn't the fusion fail and he'd really die? Even though Xia Pingan was used to seeing storms and waves, at this moment, he still hesitated. Even in the world bead, not many people would have the courage to commit suicide. More importantly, Xia Pingan didn't know what would happen in the real world if he really did what Ho Ying did. If he committed suicide in the real world, it would be completely hopeless. Only a fool or an idiot would do that. Even in the Boundary Pearl, death meant that the fusion failed. Usually, it would result in a head explosion. Ho Ying. This was the role model of Huaxia. How could he be afraid of death? Xia Pingan struggled in his heart for a long time. Finally, he gritted his teeth, stomped his feet, and went outside the sect. Facing the north, he pulled out the bronze sword at his waist and steeled his heart. Blood spurted out in the next second. Before Xia Pingan's consciousness dissipated, the world of the boundary pearl finally shattered. Xia Pingan laughed. Ha ha ha, he really didn't die. In the secret chamber, after an unknown period of time, Xia Pingan opened his eyes. There was a flash of light in his eyes. Ho Ying's boundary pearl was too terrifying. After the fusion, Xia Pingan realized that the upper limit of his divine power in the secret mandala temple had increased by 360 points, reaching 3,118 points. The effect of the sudden increase in divine power was unusually strong, making him feel like he was floating in the air. In the secret mandala, there was a bronze relief of Lord Xinling saving Zhao. However, the main character in the relief was not Lord Xinling, but a minor official of the sect in Daliang, the capital of the Wei Kingdom. Lord Xinling had become a supporting character in this story. On the relief, Ho Ying's body was glistening with a strange glow. It was the summoning position of the boundary pearl. The relief lit up the word steel in the mountain of golden words. Xia Pingan felt the effect of the circle of light, and his spirit shook. Damn! The effect of the glow was actually a powerful summoning technique called the Stealing Heaven technique. Under the Stealing Heaven technique, there was nothing that could not be stolen. It could be as small as the things and money on the other party's body. If it was medium, it could steal the items in the other party's space equipment. The most amazing thing was that it could even steal the other party's luck and divine power. The most important point was that this Stealing Heaven technique could be used without anyone knowing. Steal luck? Steal the items in the space equipment? Steal divine power? Xia Pingan was stunned for a long time. He swallowed his saliva and felt the information in the glow again. Only then did he confirm that he was not mistaken. This Ho Ying's boundary pearl was too awesome. Xia Pingan calmed down for a long time before he retracted his gaze from the secret mandala. He looked at the time. It was still early. Then Xia Pingan continued to take out a boundary pearl and prepared to fuse with it. The newly taken out boundary pearl had the words Zhang Wenzhong written on it. This was a boundary pearl that could allow a summoner to pray for rain. It cost a lot. When he heard about praying for rain and saw the words Zhang Wenzhong, Xia Pingan already knew what this boundary pearl was all about. He pricked his finger and dripped blood. Soon, Xia Pingan's whole body was wrapped in a cocoon of light. As soon as Xia Pingan opened his eyes, he found himself in a hall. A man was sitting on the throne in the hall. Beside him, there were 2 rows of ministers on his left and right. This year there is a drought in the state of Lu. The disaster is extremely serious. I am going to arrange a sacrificial hall to burn the shamans and ghosts to pray for rain. What do you think? The one who said this was the man sitting on the throne in the hall, Lu Shigong. Burning a witch and offering sacrifices to the heavens to pray for rain was the same as burning a person to pray for rain. The so-called witch-burning tradition in the Western Middle Ages was actually learned from China. Witchcraft and Zhi were actually both people. Witchcraft were wizards and wizards. Zhi, on the other hand, was a person with a bent leg and backbones. In ancient times, when there was a drought, these people would be burned to pray for rain. I object. Xia Pingan took a step forward in the hall and said loudly, P.S. This chapter makes up for yesterday's chapter. Thank you for your support. Chapter 269. By the time Xia Pingan came out of the secret chamber, it was already the 3rd day since he had entered it. During these 3 days, Xia Pingan had been in seclusion in the secret chamber, fusing, and fusing again. Before the 30-odd realm pearls were completely fused, the upper limit of the divine power in the Xia Ping and secret mandala had already exceeded 3,780 points. After soaking in the Four Sun Realms' divine spring, Xia Pingan had already steadily advanced to the Four Sun Realm. This time, soaking in the Four Sun Realms' divine spring took an especially long time. It took almost an entire day for Xia Pingan's body to completely absorb the Four Sun Realms' divine spring. After soaking in the Four Sun Realms' divine spring and fusing with the remaining divine power realm pearls, Xia Pingan came out of the secret chamber. The upper limit of the divine power in the Xia Ping and secret mandala was already 110 points more than the 3,780 divine power needed to advance to the Four Sun realm. It had become 3,890 points. In order to break through to the Five Sun realm, the upper limit of the divine power needed to exceed 5,250 points. The further one progressed, the harder it became to advance. On one hand, it required more divine power to advance, and more realm pearls had to be fused. On the other hand, there were fewer and fewer realm pearls on the market that had not been fused. The cost of finding those realm pearls that had not been fused would increase. This was the summoner's dilemma that everyone knew. The huge gap between the realm pearls requirements and reality would make it even harder for high-level summoners to advance in the future. Up until now, Xia Pingan had already fused nearly 100 realm pearls. The realm pearls that could be fused by Xia Pingan on the market were becoming fewer and fewer. Even if an ordinary summoner fused with so many realm pearls, they would not be able to fuse them perfectly like Xia Pingan and occasionally achieve a breakthrough. Therefore, they would at most be at the Three Sun realm. There was probably no other summoner who could fuse with so many realm pearls and advance to the Four Sun realm in the entire Shangjing city. Xia Pingan walked out of the secret room and came to the small courtyard outside. The courtyard was bright and sunny, and it was just early in the morning. A few thrush birds were chirping on the pomegranate tree, and 2 dragonflies were dancing on the lotus leaves in the pond. Xia Pingan let out a long breath, and his mood was very good. Xia Pingan wouldn't have known if he hadn't advanced to the Four Sun realm. Now that he had advanced, Xia Pingan felt a mysterious and vast power coming from underground. It enveloped the whole of Shangjing city and locked the summoner to the ground. Under this power, the flying ability of those powerful summoners was sealed. The magic tools that could help the summoners to fly were also restricted. Everything was in order. This power was very strange. It came from the underground of Shangjing city. Summoners at the Four Sun realm had one benefit: they could fuse with the Flight Realm Pearl. Once they fused with it, they would gain the ability to fly. Summoners below the Four Sun realm could only rely on special artifacts if they wanted to fly. However, Xia Pingan had yet to see a flight bead. Xia Pingan pondered for a moment, thinking that he should go to the auction house to buy a flight bead. "You finally came out?" Chow Chow, who was wearing a yellow dress, was holding a big grass-made cricket that street artisans sold to children. She jumped out from the side and tilted her head. Her eyes were like crescent moons as she looked at Xia Pingan. "If you didn't come out, I would have gone to the secret room to see if something had happened to you." After not seeing her for a long time, Chow Chow was still as beautiful and lively as before. At a glance, it made one feel as if spring was beside them. It was pleasing to the eye. These days, Xia Pingan had been busy at the inspection bureau. He didn't know where Chow Chow had run off to experience life. "Why are you here? Do you have an appointment at Duke Show Building?" Xia Pingan asked. Upon hearing Xia Pingan's words, Chow Chow pouted and complained, "You still dare to say that? I feel that you are a big liar. You tricked me into working for you for nothing." "How did I lie to you?" Xia Pingan rubbed his nose and asked. "Previously, you said that this Duke Show Building would have a lot of business and that I would be able to earn money. However, from the opening until now, other than the 2 people in front, there hasn't been a single person behind. If I stayed here to look after the shop for you, I would be bored to death by you. Cough cough, this business doesn't open for half a year. Once it opens, it will make a profit for half a year. Patience is required, Xia Pingan explained. Duke Zhou Building's business cost 100 gold coins for one dream reading. It was definitely the only dream master in the circle of Shangjing. Ordinary people couldn't take out a few years' worth of savings for one dream reading. Furthermore, those who had the money didn't know about Xia Pingan's abilities. Xia Pingan wasn't very famous, so he could only wait. After becoming the envoy inspector, Xia Pingan's financial resources had increased greatly. Recently, he had made a large sum of money. The business of Duke Zhou Building that he had originally planned didn't have that much pressure to make money. Oh yes, there is a dragon boat race in Qin An River this afternoon. Do you want to go with me? I heard that it will be very lively. Chow Chow said casually and pretended not to care. However, her beautiful eyes were secretly glancing at Xia Pingan. Her face was slightly red, as if she was anticipating Xia Pingan to nod his head. Was this considered a date with a princess? Xia Pingan muttered in his heart, but he still asked, "In the afternoon, where?" "Peach Blossom Bridge." "All right, then we will meet at Peach Blossom Bridge in the afternoon. I haven't been to the inspection office for a few days. I will go take a look this morning. In the afternoon, I will go to Peach Blossom Bridge. Then it's a deal." Chow Chow suddenly laughed. Many little stars seemed to twinkle in her eyes. "If you don't come, then you are a puppy." "All right, if you don't come, then you are a puppy." "All right, then this lady will leave now. See you in the afternoon." Chow Chow was in a good mood. She put her hands behind her waist and swung the grass cricket in her hand. Humming a song, she walked away with the cheerful steps of a young girl. The Duke of Zhou Building was still being watched by the maids that had been hastily sent over. The entrance was deserted, but the building was clean and tidy. Xia Pingan did not stay there for long. After a while, Xia Pingan returned to his original appearance. He called for a carriage and headed for the inspection department. As an envoy inspector, he could naturally come to the inspection office as he pleased. He had a lot of freedom. The carriage stopped at the entrance of the inspection office. Xia Pingan had just paid the fare and was about to enter the inspection office when a fat guy in plain clothes suddenly jumped out of a nearby carriage. He quickly walked up to Xia Pingan and smiled at Xia Pingan. "Lord Xia, long time no see." The person who stopped Xia Pingan was naturally Li Chaoming. After not seeing him for a few days, Li Chaoming had 2 more dark circles under his eyes and a blister at the corner of his mouth. He looked anxious, but in front of Xia Pingan, he still smiled. Li Chaoming had been waiting at the entrance of the inspection office for 3 days. In these 3 days, Xia Pingan did not show up at the inspection office. Li Chaoming did not know where Xia Pingan was, so he could only wait here every day. He could only hope that Xia Pingan would appear sooner. He could not wait any longer. As soon as he returned home, his wife cried and made a fuss. Li Chaoming was also concerned about his business, so he had to put down his face and wait here just to meet Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan certainly knew who Li Chaoming was, but on the surface, he pretended not to know him. With a look of surprise he asked, "Who are you? Do we know each other?" "Your humble servant is Li Chaoming, Jinyang District Police Chief." "Oh, it turns out to be Director Li. What can I do for you, Director Li?" Seeing Xia Pingan pretending not to know anything and not to recognize him, Li Chaoming wished he could swallow Xia Pingan alive. However, on the surface, he still smiled warmly and modestly, with a hint of humility. "This Lord Xia, can we find a place to talk?" "Okay, then let's talk in my office at the inspection office." Xia Pingan walked into the inspection office with Li Chaoming. "Good morning, Lord." Luo Laojiao stood at the gate with his dog and greeted Xia Pingan. The inspection office was still the same. 2 teams of people went out to patrol, and the others were there. Everyone in the inspection office knew Li Chaoming, but everyone pretended not to know him. The atmosphere in the inspection office was relaxed and everything was in order. In the 2 days that Xia Pingan hadn't come, nothing special happened in the inspection office. When everyone saw Xia Pingan, they respectfully made way for Xia Pingan and greeted him. Sidu Hua Longchao and the others only felt that Xia Pingan's complexion seemed to have improved a lot after not seeing him for a few days. They didn't expect that Xia Pingan was already a 4-sun realm summoner. Compared to when Xia Pingan led them to break into the Huang family, his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Li Chaoming, who was following behind Xia Pingan, raised his eyebrows. As a wily old fox, he only needed to see the attitude of the people in the inspection office towards Xia Pingan to know that Xia Pingan had completely taken control of the Donggang inspection office. The people in the inspection office all followed Xia Pingan's lead. It was simply a miracle that a new envoy inspector who had just arrived at the inspection office could completely control a powerful department in a few days. "Lord, you're here." Wei Meiyu hurriedly greeted Xia Pingan with a smile when she saw Xia Pingan. Today, Wei Meiyu was wearing a white shirt, a black knee-length skirt, and high heels. Her makeup was elegant and exquisite, and her beautiful figure could be seen at a glance. She was beautiful, capable, and even revealed a trace of sexiness. Xia Pingan couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. Make me a cup of tea," Xia Pingan said to Wei Meiyu. "Yes." Wei Meiyu glanced at Li Chaoming, who was beside Xia Pingan, and didn't ask any more questions. Since the envoy inspector said that she would only make a cup of tea, then she would just make a cup. After returning to his office, Xia Pingan sat in his armchair with his legs crossed. He held the tea that Wei Meiyu had made for him, blew on the tea leaves, and took a sip. Then, he looked at Li Chaoming, who was sitting opposite him with his hands on his knees, and didn't even take a sip of tea. "Director Li, why are you looking for me? You can speak now." Li Chaoming looked at Xia Pingan's leisurely appearance, and his throat trembled. His face alternated between red and white, and he finally gritted his teeth and lowered his head in front of Xia Pingan. "Lord Xia, I was wrong." Chapter 270. Xia Pingan put down his teacup and sat up a little straighter. His expression was that of a surprised friend. "Director Li, why do you say that? I'm confused." That day, when Lord Xia brought people to the Huang estate to arrest the culprit, I shouldn't have listened to slanderous words and set up a roadblock to intercept Lord Xia's subordinates and carriages. I was wrong. I ask that Lord Xia let me go on account of the fact that we are half-colleagues. Li Chaoming struggled to finish these words, his forehead overflowing with sweat. In the past few days, Li Chaoming had also struggled to find other ways to solve the problem, but in the end, he realized that with Xia Pingan's character and strength, if he didn't lower his head and continued to be in a deadlock with Xia Pingan, he would only end up dead. Right now, Xia Pingan was only seizing Jinming Trading Company, and he had already grasped his weakness. He could blow things up at any time. If this matter was not resolved, it would be good. If it was resolved satisfactorily, when Xia Pingan took another step forward and his position was higher, the enmity he had with Xia Pingan today might become a noose around his neck in the future. In the officialdom of Shangjing, if you offended someone you shouldn't offend, it was not shameful to lower your head and admit your mistake. As for the harsh words, they were just for himself. In front of the inspector of the Judgment Army, it was not his turn to be harsh as a police chief. Although the positions of both sides seemed similar, one was a summoner and the other was a policeman. The difference was huge. Seeing that Li Chaoming had admitted his mistake, Xia Pingan didn't beat around the bush with Li Chaoming anymore. He said directly, "Okay, since you admit your mistake and know where you are wrong, I won't force you into a dead end. I'll give you a chance. My style is to take revenge. I'm clear about gratitude and resentment. I'm never vague." "Thank you for your magnanimity, sir." Li Chaoming raised his head and wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. Your brother-in-law will stay in my cell for 3 months. I won't let him suffer. After 3 months, I'll find a reason to release him. The matter of Jinming Trading Company will be over. I won't pursue it anymore. In the future, Jinming Trading Company can continue to do business in Donggang District. You can continue to make money. How about it? Li Chaoming's liver was trembling, and the fat on both sides of his cheeks was even more gray. Those hundreds of thousands of gold coins worth of goods and money were gone just like that. Even for him, those goods and money were a big number, not a small number. However, he also knew that if he didn't bleed and satisfy Xia Pingan, he wouldn't be able to get through it just by relying on his mouth. He wouldn't say that the inspection bureau was framing him. Since he fell into the other party's hands, he had to admit it. It's just a small amount of money. I'll deal with it according to your instructions. Jinming Trading Company's matter is over. There's one more thing I need your help with. Xia Pingan smiled more gently. Please tell me, sir. You should know Inspector Yao Yuchong, right? They didn't just know each other. When they met at the table and drank too much, they almost called each other brothers. On the ground of Jinyang District, their palms could cover half the sky. That day, Inspector Yao Yuchong of Jinyang District also blocked Xia Pingan. Li Chaoming glanced at Xia Pingan. He didn't know why, but his heart trembled. He could only grit his teeth and nodded. I know him. Very familiar? Li Chaoming continued to nod. Very familiar. Then it's easy. Xia Pingan chuckled. He was also one of the people who stopped me that day. Yao Yuchong even went to the legal supervision department to sue me. He and I don't like each other, so this enmity has been formed. I want to deal with him now, but I can't get hold of his weakness for the time being. Give me an idea on how to deal with Yao Yuchong. Sir, this is the matter of the inspection bureau. I'm just a small police chief of Jinyang District. I can't intervene. I don't have the ability. Li Chaoming looked at Xia Pingan. He forced a smile and almost cried. Xia Pingan's face suddenly turned cold. He calmly looked at Li Chaoming, his eyes slightly gloomy. Oh, is that so? Then I won't make things difficult for you. You can go. I won't see you off. After saying that, Xia Pingan picked up the teacup, lowered his head, and gently blew on the water. He no longer looked at Li Chaoming. Li Chaoming stood up stiffly. He forced a smile and nodded. Sir, then I'm leaving, take care. Don't take a wrong step. The ground and stairs of the inspection bureau are very flat. It's brightly lit everywhere. There are no potholes, so you won't fall. Be careful when you walk outside. Don't fall into a ditch. Li Chaoming took 2 steps back. He then walked to the door stiffly and carefully. Although his back was facing Xia Pingan, Li Chaoming could still feel Xia Pingan's sharp gaze on his back. This was what it meant to have a sharp gaze on one's back. When his hand was about to touch the brass doorknob, Li Chaoming suddenly quivered. At this moment, he felt that what he was about to open was not the door of Xia Pingan's office, but the gate of the gates of hell. Li Chaoming suddenly turned around with a smile on his face. Sir, I just remembered that Yao Yuchong is indeed AB***. Not only did he abuse his power in Jinming District, but he also did many dirty things. I've long disliked him. If Sir wants to punish him, I'll be the first one to agree. Xia Pingan smiled again as he waved his hand at Li Chaoming. That's right. That's what a good boy. Come, sit over here and talk. Xia Pingan almost said good comrade. Fortunately, he stopped himself. Li Chaoming sat back on the chair as he had already thrown caution to the wind. The moment he sat down, he started to spill all the dirty things that he knew about Yao Yuchong. Xia Pingan just listened while touching his chin. Not until Li Chaoming finished did he open his mouth. Yao Yuchong is indeed AB***. I've not imagined that he could be so lawless in Jinyang District. Tell me, if I want to punish him, what's the most effective way? It's best to punish him so that he can no longer stay in the position of the inspector of Jinyang district. Li Chaoming lowered his head and pondered for a short while. After that, he raised his eyes with a ferocious look. Sir, Yao Youchang's most dangerous thing is actually women. He likes women and would do anything for women. Additionally, he's extremely audacious. As long as we start from this aspect, we'll definitely be able to bring him down and vent your anger for you. Oh, that's right. I heard you say that he often meets with married women in restaurants. Yes, I know that some of the women that Yao Yuchang meets with have extraordinary identities. They're the family members of the Imperial City Guards. The crime of adultery is not a small crime in the Judgment Army and the Shang dynasty. It's enough to make him lose his official position or even go to jail. Since you're so familiar with Jinyang district and it's your territory, it's not convenient for us to go there. Therefore, I'll leave this matter to you. Is there any problem? Li Chaoming trembled all over. However, at this moment, he could only grit his teeth and do it. Don't worry, sir. No problem. You're willing to do this. I didn't force you, did I? No, I'm willing to do it. How long will it take? 5 days. Give me 5 days. I'll definitely get it done. Okay, I'll wait for your good news. Don't let me down. There's something I need to tell you first. I'll go out later. In order not to arouse suspicion, I may have to scold you a few times in the police station. Please don't blame me. Scold me as much as you want. Am I that kind of petty person? Xia Pingan said seriously. If you're not, then who is? Li Chaoming kept these words in his heart and didn't dare to say it out loud. He even showed a considerate smile. When Li Chaoming walked out of the door of the inspection department, the wind outside blew and he felt that he was soaked. He felt that someone was looking at him from behind. Li Chaoming turned his head and saw Xia Pingan standing at the window of the office upstairs. Half of his body was exposed as he silently watched him walk out of the door of the inspection department. Seeing Li Chaoming turn around, Xia Pingan picked up his teacup and took a sip of tea. He smiled at Li Chaoming. In Li Chaoming's eyes, it was the smile of the devil. Li Chaoming forced a smile and got into the carriage outside. He almost collapsed. A person like Xia Pingan was too terrifying. He would do anything by hook or by crook. He must have taken some medicine before to go against him. Now, Xia Pingan gave him two choices. Li Chaoming could only choose the path of die a friend. The first thing Li Chaoming did when he returned to the Jinyang District Police Station was to scold Xia Pingan in his office. He scolded for half an hour until everyone in the police station knew that Xia Pingan had arrested the bureau chief's brother-in-law and sealed up his business. When the bureau chief went to see Xia Pingan was arrogant and domineering. He didn't give the bureau chief any face. The bureau chief and Inspector Xia were like fire and water. After dealing with another matter, Xia Pingan was in a good mood. He sat on the armchair and had just finished drinking the cup of tea when there was a knock on the door. Come in. Wei Meiyu walked in gracefully and handed a form to Xia Pingan. Sir, this is the account after the warehouse of Jinming business was sealed up and the goods in the warehouse were sold and confiscated. Please have a look, sir. Xia Pingan glanced at it. The total income and bank assets of Jinming business were about 480,000 gold coins. After 80% of the income was handed over to the government and 80% of the income was deposited into the account of the ruling army, about 92,800 gold coins would be returned to the supervision department as a case bonus. According to the rules, this money was the official extra income and bonus of the supervision department. No wonder the people in the supervision department were so happy today. It turned out that everyone in the supervision department would have a share of the bonus. More than 90,000 gold coins was a huge sum. He would have 30% of it, and the remaining 64,960 gold coins would be divided among the others. Everyone would have a big income. Wei Meiyu was asked to come in. Sidu Hua and a few other team members were poking their heads out to see how they would divide the money. The members of the Supervision Department's 6th team and the gatekeeper, Luo Laoji, would share 90% of the 64,960 gold coins. The remaining 10% would be divided among the non-summoner members in the Supervision Department. The smallest share would be more than 300 gold coins. Xia Pingan signed the document and asked Wei Meiyu to take out the distribution plan and distribute it together with this month's salary. In the future, it would be distributed according to this plan. Soon, the whole supervision department was filled with cheers. Everyone understood that this was only the income of Jinming business. The smuggling case was the real meat. It was just that the case had not been settled yet. After it was settled, everyone would get a bigger share. This kind of envoy inspector was simply like a money giver. If they followed him, they would be able to make a fortune. Chapter 271. The Peach Blossom Bridge was crowded with people. Near the pier of the Peach Blossom Bridge, dragon boats were on the water, and the participating teams were rubbing their hands. The name of the Peach Blossom Bridge sounded romantic, but it was not small. It was a huge steel arch bridge spanning the Chinon River. There were also railway tracks on the bridge, through which people could pass. Because of the dragon boat race today, there were many people gathered here. The Peach Blossom Bridge was in the Huilong district of Shangjing City. When Xia Pingan arrived, he was also startled by the liveliness here. The square next to the Peach Blossom Bridge and both sides of the pier were packed with people. At a glance, it looked like a New Year market. There were too many people, at least 70,000 to 80,000 people. The policemen in black uniforms were more or less useful at this time. They were blowing whistles and holding red batons, trying their best to maintain order here. Many places on the street, the square and the bridge were cordoned off. Many cruise ships were leaning on the wide Chinon River, waiting for the dragon boat race to start. Some of those who were sitting on the cruise ships to watch the dragon boat race had already bought tickets, while others were either rich or respectable. It must be very difficult for ordinary people to find a person in such a place, but for Xia Pingan, he only needed to search with his remote vision ability and instantly found Chow Chow. Chow Chow was on the Peach Blossom Bridge, occupying a good position to watch the dragon boat race. She was also tiptoeing, trying to find herself in the surrounding crowd. Well, she hastily changed into a blue dress and wore a beautiful garland on her head. Her hair was tied into a beautiful bow with a red silk scarf. Her black hair was draped over her shoulders. She looked like an immortal, beautiful and moving. She had a different kind of beauty in the surging crowd. Taking a closer look, there were several experts disguised as ordinary people in the crowd around Chow Chow. Therefore, although there were many people around her, Cao Cao's surroundings were relatively relaxed, leaving no trace. Chow Chow seemed to be unaware of it. There were many young men and women here to watch the dragon boat race. Just when Xia Pingan saw Chow Chow, two sloppy young men in the crowd also saw Chow Chow. Their eyes lit up. After exchanging a glance, they revealed malicious smiles and squeezed towards Chow Chow from both sides of the bridge. Chow Chow didn't notice anything wrong at all and was still looking around then. A figure suddenly rose from the bridge. Plop, plop, the water under the bridge splashed in all directions, and the two people inexplicably fell from the bridge into the river. Ah, someone fell into the water. The people on the bridge shouted. Stone is used to this kind of thing. Every year when he watches the dragon boat, someone will fall into the water. Looking at the two people struggling in the water, the people on the shore and the bridge laugh. They are not nervous at all. Instead, they are more cheerful. Only the police who maintain order take a lifebuoy from the shore and throw it into the water, letting the young man swim to the shore by himself. Xia Pingan walked through the crowd and came to the bridge. He finally saw Chow Chow. Ah, you're here. Chow Chow saw Xia Pingan squeezing out of the crowd. His eyes lit up as he waved at Xia Pingan happily. Xia Pingan also squeezed to Cao Cao's side. He exhaled and smiled. Phew, I didn't expect there to be so many people here. At this moment, Xia Pingan had recovered his original appearance in front of Cao Cao instead of Yang Qing. Only when he was in the Duke of Zhou's building and the night market of Tianyuan Bridge did he change into Yang Qing's appearance. It was Yang Qing who bought the realm bead and divined the dream. No one would think of him. Cough cough. Did you notice anything different about me? She hastily pulled her skirt and spun around in front of Xia Pingan. The expression on her face was clearly saying, "Hurry up and praise me." Xia Pingan said in all seriousness, "By the way, I found a strand of hair beside your ear split open." Cao Cao glared at Xia Pingan as if she was a bit angry. However, in the blink of an eye, she burst into laughter. "You can even find a split hair of mine. You're smart." Xia Pingan looked at the dragon boat teams and the crowd on both sides of the bridge. He frowned slightly as he thought, if the Blood Demon Church makes a move here today, it will be very funny. However, was the Blood Demon Church really so bold? Among the crowd on both sides of the bridge and the pier, Xia Pingan also found many colleagues of the Huilong Supervision Bureau here. It seemed that the officials were still on guard. By the way, where did this dragon boat team come from? I don't think all of them are from Shangjing City. When Xia Pingan saw the dragon boat teams flying all kinds of colorful banners, he felt a little strange. Those banners included family banners and business group banners. He had never seen many of them in Shangjing City. Of course, these dragon boat teams come from the provinces of the Shang dynasty. There are also some in Shangjing City, but most of them are from the provinces. It costs about 50,000 gold coins to participate in a competition here. Do they need so much money? Of course, it's a chance to show your face in Shangjing City. The winning team will be rewarded with 500,000 gold coins and can also be invited to the Imperial City to participate in the state banquet. Therefore, every year at this time, the rich merchants and aristocrats in the provinces of the Shang dynasty would prepare teams to compete in the dragon boat competition at Qin and River. Just take it as a show of wealth. The dragon boat competition will last for 7 days. Hundreds of teams will participate in each competition. It was probably Cao Cao's first time to watch the dragon boat with so many people on the shore and the bridge. She looked quite excited. She kept chattering in front of Xia Pingan and told him all the history of dragon boats in Shangjing City. However, Xia Pingan was calculating in his mind, hundreds of teams, 50,000 gold coins for each team. In this way, they could make tens of millions of gold coins by holding a dragon boat competition every year. It's too amazing. It's even more awesome than the Olympic Games. When Xia Pingan and Cao Cao were chatting on the bridge, a slender, white, gorgeous cruise ship passed under the bridge. It seemed that the cruise ship was also here to watch the dragon boat competition. Someone was standing on the deck of the cruise ship. Xia Pingan naturally glanced at the yacht. The people on the cruise ship seemed to be looking at the scenery on the shore and the bridge. Then, Xia Pingan saw Yen Duo on the white cruise ship. Yen Duo also saw Xia Pingan on the white cruise ship. Xia Pingan thought that he was dazzled. He rubbed his eyes and looked over again. F***CK, that's Yen Duo. Xia Pingan could recognize Yen Duo's temperament even if he turned into ashes. Yen Duo had changed his hairstyle. He had short black hair and a manly beard around his mouth. He was wearing a white shirt and black breeches. A few buttons of his shirt were unbuttoned, revealing his chest. He looked like a playboy among the nobles. On his right hand, he was holding a beautiful young woman in a palace dress and a hat with a beautiful bird feather. The young woman was pointing at the scenery by the Qin and river and talking to Yen Duo. Of course, Yen Duo, who was accompanying the beautiful countess on the cruise ship, also thought that he was dazzled. Almost at the same time, he rubbed his eyes and looked over again. Xia Pingan on the Peach Blossom Bridge did not change much in Yen Duo's eyes. He was wearing an exquisite black coat and a top hat. He looked like a gentleman from the capital. Looking at Cao Cao beside Xia Pingan, Yen Duo was also dazzled by Cao Cao's peerless beauty. Yen Duo also cursed in his heart. F***ck Xia Pingan, that bastard. How can he be surrounded by such top-notch girls wherever he goes? Is there any justice in this world? The two people who participated in the heaven patching plan, from Earth to this world, had a dramatic encounter here. For a moment, both of them were surprised, happy, and speechless. Xia Pingan did not jump down, and Yen Duo did not jump up. The two of them just looked at each other. As their eyes met, the white cruise ship gradually disappeared into the distance. On the yacht, Yen Duo suddenly thought of something and gestured to Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan also nodded. Behind the white yacht, there was a very special cyan flag. On the cyan flag, there was a golden anchor and a green bird. In the dragon boat team in the distance, there was a team with the same flag as the one on the yacht. Where did the white cruise ship come from? It seems that they also sent a team to participate in the dragon boat race. Xia Pingan asked Cao Cao. Cao Cao glanced at the flag on the white cruise ship and said naturally, "That's the emblem of Countess Lin Qing of Beihai." Countess Lin Qing is a very famous female widow and rich woman in the Shang dynasty. Every year, she would send a team to participate in the dragon boat race in the capital city. However, in just a few years, the team she sent only achieved the 17th place. Chapter 272. Yen Duo, that bastard. Xia Pingan cursed in his heart and breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Previously, when he saw the Blood Demon Church's order to kill them, Xia Pingan was really worried about Yen Duo and the others. He was worried that something would happen to them. Now, at least he saw that Yen Duo was fine. However, Yen Duo was also a smart guy. He actually changed his appearance. His iconic white hair was cut into black hair, and he grew a beard. Unless it was someone who knew and was familiar with him before, they really wouldn't recognize him. Coincidentally, Countess Lin Qing next to Yen Duo had the same name as the summoner who came with Xia Pingan and the others and was being chased by the Blood Demon Church. It was just that one was a woman and the other was a man. Xia Pingan watched the white cruise ship sail to the river near the dock where the dragon boat was parked. He was also waiting for the dragon boat race to begin. Not long after, a row of colorful balloons rose from the dock. As soon as the balloons rose into the air, the people on the shore and the bridge cheered and waved the colorful ribbons in their hands. The dragon boat for the race was ready. The people on the dragon boat began to slowly beat the drums. The sound of the drums was like war drums. Slowly, it began to become denser. The sound of the drums shook the surrounding air and ignited the atmosphere at the scene. "It's about to start, it's about to start." Cao Cao clapped her hands happily and unconsciously grabbed Xia Pingan's hand. When she felt that something was wrong, Cao Cao suddenly realized it and blushed. For some reason, Xia Pingan suddenly felt a little nervous at this time. Xia Pingan's eyes searched the crowd on the bridge, the dock, and the river. He also used his remote vision ability and didn't feel anything wrong. There were too many people around, so he didn't find anything unusual. As the drumming on the dragon boat grew louder and louder, the uneasy feeling in Xia Pingan's heart grew stronger and stronger. Perhaps sensing Xia Pingan's uneasiness, the boy of fortune who was monitoring the movements of the Huang family appeared in front of Xia Pingan almost instantaneously. The boy of fortune stood on Xia Pingan's shoulder and looked around. Then, he directly jumped down from Xia Pingan's shoulder and jumped into the river. Stepping on the water, he started to run on the river. No one noticed that there was a child of fortune wearing only a doo-doo running on the surface of the water. After boy fortune god ran on the water for a while, he suddenly plunged into the water and turned into a fish. he quickly moved towards a direction in the water. When the Boy of Fortune entered the water, Xia Pingan immediately saw what the Boy of Fortune saw in the water. Light and shadow swayed on the water's surface. Golden spots under the sunlight jumped on the water's surface. Light penetrated the water's surface, and the reflection of the dragon boat and the cruise ship twisted under the water. The drumming on the dragon boat became more and more intense in the water, and it became unusually dull. Invisible sound waves were transmitted through the water. The water of the Qian River was crystal clear. But because the river here was too deep, and there were a lot of aquatic plants in the river, these aquatic plants spread over the bottom of the river at a depth of tens of meters, just like a forest. It was like another world. The Boy of Fortune felt something unusual under the water, and quickly moved in a direction. Something was wrong. Xia Pingan suddenly realized that the Boy of Fortune wouldn't have suddenly jumped into the river. He must have found something in the water. Xia Pingan looked at Yen Duo. Yen Duo was on the white cruise ship, holding a glass of wine in his hand. Feeling Xia Pingan's gaze, Yen Duo also looked at Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan only made a gesture to Yen Duo, danger, quickly evacuate. Yen Duo's face on the white cruise ship changed. Yen Duo knew that Xia Pingan would not play such a joke on him. The dragon boat race is about to start. Last year, I added a few experts to my team. After this year's training, their performance this year will definitely be better than last year's. I'm looking forward to it. The beautiful Countess smiled as she looked at the dragon boat team in the distance and pointed it out to Yen Duo. Yen Duo suddenly grabbed the Countess's wrist and said in a deep voice, "Come with me." The Countess's face suddenly turned red, and she looked at Yen Duo with watery eyes. She seemed to have misunderstood Yen Duo, and said in a shy voice, "Wasn't last night enough? You want to do it at this time? Do you want to go to the cabin?" Yen Duo cursed in his heart, but did not explain anything. He pulled the Countess and quickly left the deck. The Countess thought that Yen Duo was going to take her to the cabin, but she found that Yen Duo directly took her off the ship, and at the same time asked the captain to quickly drive the ship away. At the same time, Xia Pingan also grabbed Cao Cao's hand, and without any explanation, took Cao Cao out of the bridge. "Ah, this is the best place to watch the dragon boat. Why do we have to leave?" Cao Cao looked surprised, and did not know why Xia Pingan suddenly wanted to take it away from the Peach Blossom Bridge. "Don't watch the dragon boats today, we have to leave immediately." "Why?" "I don't know, but something is wrong." Cao Cao glanced at Xia Pingan's face, and found that Xia Pingan's eyes suddenly turned deep and serious, and did not seem to be joking. Only then did Cao Cao stop asking. Xia Pingan hurriedly walked through the crowd with Cao Cao, and quickly crossed the Peach Blossom Bridge. He then released his hand, took out his inspector token, and directly said to the air next to him, "Take Cao Cao away immediately." Cao Cao was stunned. At the same time, two women in black in their 30s suddenly appeared beside Cao Cao. The two women glanced at Xia Pingan and Cao Cao solemnly, and directly grabbed Cao Cao's hand. "Please come with me." Cao Cao looked at Xia Pingan and asked, "What about you?" "You go first, I can't leave yet." Xia Pingan smiled at Cao Cao. Without saying anything, he immediately ran towards a summoner of the Huilong Supervision Bureau who was closest to him. That summoner in his 30s was wearing iron glove. Standing outside the crowd, he looked around with a cold and vigilant look. Seeing Xia Pingan running towards him, that summoner's eyes immediately fell on Xia Pingan's face, revealing a vigilant look. The moment Xia Pingan ran over, he directly took out his inspector token. Seeing Xia Pingan's inspector token, that summoner of the Huilong Supervision Bureau changed his face and hurriedly saluted, "Greetings, my lord." The inspection department was a system within the ruling army. With Xia Pingan's identity here, any summoner of the inspection department in any district in Shangjing would have to call him sir when they saw him. "I'm Xia Pingan, the inspector of the Donggang Supervision Bureau. I found something wrong here. Immediately inform your superiors to evacuate the people here at once. Xia Pingan, the inspector of the Donggang Supervision Bureau. Since Xia Pingan broke into the Huang mansion to arrest people and killed his way back to the Donggang Supervision Bureau, this name had become well known among all the supervision bureaus in Shangjing City. The dragon boat race is going to be held here today. So many people are going to evacuate, that summoner said with an embarrassed look. I'll be responsible if something happens to evacuate. If not, you'll be responsible for it. Hearing Xia Pingan's words, that summoner's face changed as he hurriedly went to inform his superiors. At this moment, Boy of Blessings had already swam 2 kilometers downstream of the wharf. At the bottom of the river where the aquatic plants were swaying, under the cover of the dense aquatic plants, a huge black fish longer than 1 m was hiding at the bottom of the river. There were many skeletons in the Chinon River. Nobody ate the fish in the river. Therefore, it was not rare for such a huge fish to grow in the river. Boy of Blessings had seen more than one such fish along the way. At the sight of that fish, Boy of Blessings stopped moving. After circling around that huge black fish for 2 laps, he rode on it. Xia Pingan felt strange. He thought that Boy of Blessings was looking for this huge black fish as his mount. However, in the next second, Xia Pingan knew that he was wrong. That huge black fish didn't notice Boy of Blessings riding on it. A few seconds later, the huge black fish's body at the bottom of the river began to twist like rubber, slowly turning into a human figure. That human figure was at the bottom of the river, wearing a weird golden grimace mask and a black robe. However, its body seemed to be completely composed of water, just like a person made of water, which made people shudder. So many people. It seems that I can kill enough today. The water of the Chinon River in Shangjing City should be red. Xia Pingan heard that human figure's gloomy and grim laughter in the water. After turning into a human figure, Boy of Blessings was still riding on that person's neck. That person didn't notice it at all. Then, Xia Pingan saw that person's hand move. Suddenly, a handful of sesame-like black sand-like things appeared in his water-like hand. The black sand spread out in the river and absorbed the water crazily. Every grain of sand would rapidly expand in contact with the water. In the blink of an eye, the grains of sand had turned into seeds and then into egg-shaped objects. However, they were still expanding and growing in the water. In a short while, they had turned into tens of thousands of big eggs. Those big eggs were each more than 1 meter tall, with hard, pitch-black shells covered with sharp spikes. In the blink of an eye, those big eggs moved and began to stretch their bodies. Suddenly, the big eggs turned into monsters that were only 2 meters tall, covered in pitch-black hard armor. They had hands like giant pincers, legs like reptiles, 4 blood-red eyes on their heads, and pitch-black barbed tails. This was a water demon. The water demons were silent in the water. There were tens of thousands of them, like an army. That transparent person grinned grimly and pointed in the direction of the Peach Blossom Bridge, uttering a low syllable. Go and kill. Let the blood dye the river red. Let the corpses float on the river. Let those ignorant and stupid people know the consequences of going against the blood demon church. Under the water, the army of water demons swam faster than fish, rushing towards the Peach Blossom Bridge. Chapter 273. The army of water demons moved in the river. The man with the golden grimace mask twisted his body at the bottom of the lake. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a big black fish and swam quickly downstream of Chinon River. Boy of Blessings followed him, riding on the big fish that the man had turned into. The man didn't notice anything. The water demons were too fast in the river. It seemed that they could cross the 2-kilometer distance in 3 or 4 minutes. On the Peach Blossom Bridge, the crowd on both sides of the dock was in a bit of a commotion. Xia Pingan's warning was effective. The police and the summoners of the Supervision Bureau had begun to evacuate the crowd. However, the crowd was unwilling to leave. They didn't know that danger was coming. Some people even quarreled with the police. At the dock, a large cloud of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple smoke was released from a row of salute guns. The Dragon boat team was beating drums and shouting. They had rowed out of the dock and began to move quickly on the river. The cheers on the shore and the river were deafening. Seeing that the Dragon boat team had begun to move, the onlookers were even more unwilling to leave. The evacuation of the police and the Supervision Bureau caused a small disturbance. F***ck. It was too late. He could only use some extreme means. Xia Pingan gritted his teeth and stomped his feet. He could only change his voice and shout, "The Blood Demon Church! The Blood Demon Church is releasing corpse poison! Corpse poison, everyone run!" Xia Pingan's voice was very loud. When he shouted, Xia Pingan took out a pistol and directly fired 3 shots into the sky. In the midst of the gunshots, he had already performed the illusion of fire beacon teasing the feudal lords. In the blink of an eye, many people infected with corpse poison emerged from the crowd on both sides of the Peach Blossom Bridge and the dock. With red eyes, they grabbed the people around them and began to gnaw madly. For a moment, blood and brains were splattered in the crowd. In the illusion, those infected with corpse poison began to gnaw and tear at the people around them like wild beasts. They bit off necks, sucked blood, bit off hands, swallowed eyeballs and ate brains, dug out hearts and livers, cut open stomachs and ate intestines. All kinds of bloody and disgusting scenes suddenly appeared. The Blood Demon Church, corpse poison, run, there's corpse poison, the Blood Demon Church is killing people, the Blood Demon Church is releasing corpse poison. The crowd on both sides of the Peach Blossom Bridge and the wharf were stunned and frightened. Countless people screamed and began to turn around and run away. The people who had been unwilling to leave and wanted to stay and watch the show only wished that their parents had given them 2 more legs. The people surrounding the pier, the riverside, and the Peach Blossom Bridge began to scatter in all directions in fear. The entire scene was in complete chaos. Not to mention the people on the shore, even the members of the Dragon boat team in the river, as well as the crowd sitting on the cruise ship, all began to flee after seeing the commotion on the shore. The cruise ship began to speed up and leave this troublesome place. Those rowing on the Dragon boat saw that there were people infected with corpse poison on the Peach Blossom Bridge, in front of them jumping off the bridge and swimming towards them like dumplings being dropped into a pot. All of a sudden, they burst out with 120% of their firepower. They desperately slid the Dragon boat to the shore and ran away. What Dragon boat competition? How could it be more important than his life? In the chaos, Xia Pingan threw a fireball into the air and shouted loudly, "Everyone, quickly leave the riverside, the pier, and the bridge. Run to a safe place in the city. The Blood Demon Church is coming. Run, run!" The fireball that exploded in the air was more convincing. Xia Pingan's illusion of playing with feudal lords with fire beacon could scare ordinary people, but it could not scare the summoners of the Huilong District Inspection Department who were on duty here. A few icicles and fireballs were thrown over, and those disgusting people infected with corpse poison instantly disappeared like bursting bubbles. The people of the Huilong District Inspection Department immediately knew that this was an illusion. Looking at the scene, Xia Pingan was the only one who was shouting that the Blood Demon Church was coming. He was throwing fireballs to create chaos and scare the crowd away. The inspector of the Huilong District was instantly enraged. The Huilong District Inspection Department had to take the blame for such a big mess in the Dragon boat competition. However, in such a public place, the crowd running away in panic was like a herd of wild bulls. Once the chaos started, they could no longer stop. Everyone only had one word in their mind: run for their lives. Even those who looked back saw panicked faces. How could they tell what was going on? They could only follow the crowd and run. They could not stop even if they wanted to. Run! Run! Seeing a group of people running slowly in the distance, Xia Pingan shouted and threw a fireball at the group of people's heads. The crowd screamed and ran away in panic, their shoes falling to the ground. What are you doing? With an angry shout in his ears, a blue figure flashed in front of him. Xia Pingan felt an icicle flying towards him. He stopped and instantly retreated several meters. The icicle was not shot at Xia Pingan, but at the ground under Xia Pingan's feet, disrupting Xia Pingan's rhythm. As soon as Xia Pingan stopped, he saw a woman in a blue dress standing in front of him, looking at him angrily. The woman was very tall, almost the tallest woman Xia Pingan had ever seen. Xia Pingan was not short, but the woman was almost 2 meters taller than Xia Pingan by a head. Although the woman was tall, her facial features were very delicate. Her skin was white, her cheeks were like peaches, her eyes were like almonds, and her nose was high. She was very beautiful, but her plump and tall figure could even be described as strong. Her pair of long legs were simply invincible. Everything about her was 2 sizes bigger than other women. The undulating lines between her buttocks and waist, her huge hips and buttocks, as well as her plump upper body, looked very exaggerated even in a dress. Xia Pingan, don't think that you can run amok here just because you are the Donggang inspector. Others may be afraid of you, but I, Mu Lanwei, am not. This is my Huilong district's territory. Today, you ruined the dragon boat competition, so you have to give me an explanation. The woman's eyes were cold, staring at Xia Pingan. Mu Lanwei? Xia Pingan had heard of this name before. She was the Huilong district's inspector, a woman of the same rank as him. This was the first time Xia Pingan had seen her in person. He didn't expect Mu Lanwei's image to be so exaggerated. She was so tall and her figure was so… Oh my God! Xia Pingan's gaze swept across Mu Lanwei's face, then naturally moved down. When it reached below Mu Lanwei's neck, it was stuck, and he couldn't help but pause for a moment. Have you seen enough? Mu Lanwei's face flashed with anger, and she directly blasted a fireball towards Xia Pingan's head. This woman's temper was too fiery, just like Hua Ziqin. Xia Pingan waved his hand, and the fireball shot by Mu Lanwei was pulled by a force and blasted towards the sky. It exploded into a ball of flame 100 meters in the air, adding a bit of light and shadow to the people who were quickly escaping. Sure enough, you have some skills. No wonder you are so arrogant. Inspector Mu, it's better to save some divine power to deal with the next thing. Xia Pingan was too lazy to explain anything. In just a short while, he saw that the people who were watching the show had run at least 100 meters away. Those who were fast had already run 200 to 300 meters away, leaving the riverside pier and the peach blossom bridge. Xia Pingan's figure leaped and directly flew towards Qin and river. You want to run after causing such a big mess? Mu Lanwei leaped up and directly chased after Xia Pingan into Qin and river. Xia Pingan leaped down from the peach blossom bridge and stretched out his hand to point at the river. Immediately, a table-sized floating ice formed on the river's surface, and Xia Pingan landed steadily on the floating ice. Mu Lanwei leaped over from the air and lightly tapped on the water's surface with her feet. A piece of ice also floated on the water's surface. She landed steadily on the ice and stared at Xia Pingan. Mu Lanwei discovered that Xia Pingan's expression was solemn as he looked at the wide river. A huge Xuanwu was slowly being summoned by Xia Pingan. It crawled out of the black fog and was ready to attack. Xia Pingan didn't look like he was joking. Mu Lanwei looked at the surging river and also felt that something was wrong. This was because beneath her feet, she discovered a large number of river fishes frantically fleeing in the river, rushing upstream toward the Qin and river. P.S. I recommend Dark Sky Devil's new work, Tiger Vigilante. Dark Sky Devil's apocalyptic science fiction is very well written. This is his first realistic work. Readers who are interested in police-related themes can take a look. Chapter 274. There was something in Chine and River that was rushing towards them from downstream. Moreover, there were a lot of them, which was why the fish were running away in fear. Mu Lanwei only glanced at the crazily fleeing fish in the river, and immediately made a judgment. Mu Lanwei's heart instantly tightened. She finally knew that Xia Pingan wasn't joking with her. Call the headquarters of the Judgment Army. We can't handle it with just a few people, Xia Pingan said to Mu Lanwei as he let out a long sigh and stared at the surging waves in front of him. No matter how this woman treated him just now, at this time, both sides were comrades, and Xia Pingan was too lazy to care about this woman's attitude just now. Mu Lanwei glanced at Xia Pingan and didn't say anything else. She took out a salute from her spatial equipment, lit it, and threw it. The salute flew into the air and exploded, forming a shield-like red firework that didn't dissipate for a long time. Even in broad daylight, it could be seen from dozens of kilometers away. How did you know that there was something in the water? What was it? Mu Lanwei asked Xia Pingan after releasing the signal. I was the first to notice that something was wrong with the fish in the water. They were running upwards, which means that there are a lot of things in the water rushing towards us, Xia Pingan said casually. Of course, he couldn't tell her about the Child of Fortune. Even if he had the ability of the Sky Eye, it would be best if he didn't say anything. There's a dragon boat race here today, and there are a lot of people here. If the Blood Demon Church were to do anything, it would be a huge loss. Therefore, I had no choice but to use some tricks in a moment of desperation. I also attacked you without knowing what was going on. Let's call it even, Mu Lanwei said straightforwardly. At this moment, the river a few hundred meters in front of them started to boil. Countless water droplets began to jump on the surface of the water as if it was boiling. The boiling water droplets rolled over from afar. Under the sunlight, they could vaguely see a dense mass of black objects under the water. Then, in the next second, the 700 ferocious bodies of the water demons emerged from the water. Xia Pingan pointed at those aquatic beasts. Xuanwu, who had long been ready, flew out from behind Xia Pingan and dove into the river. The surging waves of the Chinon River were immediately frozen. A 2-meter-thick layer of ice extended out from under Xia Pingan's feet and froze a 500-meter-long section of the river. The several hundred aquatic beasts that had just jumped out of the water were instantly frozen into ice sculptures and lost their vitality. But there were too many of them. Once the first batch of water-kind spirit creatures were frozen, the other water-kind spirit creatures leaped out of the water wave after wave. Some stepped on the ice surface of the river, some climbed up the embankment, letting out strange hissing roars as they rushed to where people were. Water demon! Someone on the shore finally saw what was coming out of the water and started to shout. Bang 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 bang! The policemen who were maintaining order here started to shoot the water-kind spirit creatures that jumped out of the river. Those onlookers who had run hundreds of meters away turned back and saw those monsters running out of the river. They screamed and ran for their lives. If Xia Pingan hadn't evacuated the people on the shore 2 minutes earlier, this would have been the beginning of the massacre. Rows of fireballs and icicles flew out from the shore and bombarded those water-kind spirit creatures. The summoners of the Supervision Department of Huilong District had already started to act. A large number of battle puppets were summoned and started to intercept those water-kind spirit creatures. A fierce battle broke out on both sides of the Peach Blossom Bridge. Kill! Xia Pingan roared angrily. He stepped on the frozen river and rushed towards those water-kind spirit creatures. He waved his hand and 300 elite slave soldiers appeared in front of him. The elite slave soldiers took out the javelins on their backs and rushed towards the water-kind spirit creatures. The elite slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pingan, who was in the Four Sun Realm, were completely different from the elite slave soldiers he had summoned before. Their basic attributes had undergone a huge change. The 300 elite slave soldiers were abnormally strong. The javelins they threw were fast, accurate, and ruthless. A single javelin could penetrate the body of a charging aquatic demon and send it crashing into the ice. After the elite slave soldiers, Xia Pingan clenched his teeth and waved his hand again. Behind him, a faint image of a military camp appeared. Behind him, the rumbling sound of iron hooves could be heard. 100 storm cavalry leaped out of the military camp. Arrows flew out like locusts towards the water demons that had jumped onto the ice. 100 storm cavalrymen consumed 1,800, 300 divine power. 300 elite slave soldiers consumed 1,200 divine power. Just like that, a total of 3,000 divine power points were used. After Xia Pingan reached the Four Sun Realm, the divine power required to summon an elite slave soldier had been reduced to 4 divine power points. If not for this, the 300 elite slave soldiers would have almost emptied a summoner. Xia Pingan really wouldn't be able to summon them. The strength of the elite storm cavalrymen and the elite slave soldiers was terrifying. It was almost instantaneous, especially the storm cavalrymen. Their iron hooves swept across the ice. Facing the water-kind spirit creatures, they could be said to be invincible. 100 storm cavalrymen lined up like iron plows on the ice. Amidst the rumbling of iron hooves, they charged towards the water-kind spirit creatures with the momentum of a magnificent army. The innate skill of mounted archery allowed the storm cavalrymen to draw their bows and knock their arrows before they reached the water-kind spirit creatures, killing them on the ice. Apart from mounted archery, the strongest skill of the storm cavalrymen was death assault. As soon as death assault began, a layer of red light appeared on the storm cavalrymen's bodies. Within the red light, the storm cavalrymen's javelins were like blood-red lightning. During the assault, they could easily pierce through the water-kind spirit creatures like barbecued meat. Any water-kind spirit that got close would be trampled by the storm cavalrymen's mounts, shattering their carapaces and sending them flying back while coughing up blood. The first thing that dyed the Qin and River red wasn't the blood of humans, but the blood of the water-kind spirits. The 500 meters of ice that froze the river became a battlefield. More and more water-kind spirits jumped out of the river and joined the battle. They were pierced by the javelins of the elite slave soldiers and crushed by the storm cavalrymen. In addition to Xia Pingan, Mulanwai also summoned her own warriors. A total of 200 spear-wielding slave soldiers were summoned by her. They lined up and held their javelins as they guarded the shore. After summoning the slave soldiers, Mulanwai summoned 10 tigers and 100 archers to join the battle. Mulanwai wasn't a brainless person to be able to become the inspector of the first district. The slave soldiers and archers she summoned weren't like Xia Pingan, who was fighting the water-kind spirits on the ice. Instead, they were on the shore, cooperating with the other summoners of the Huilong Supervision Bureau to suppress the water-kind spirits on the shore. They were trying their best to prevent the water-kind spirits from rushing to the shore. Before the reinforcements from the Judgment Army arrived, they tried their best to suppress the water-kind spirits in the river and prevent them from causing more damage. This was the wisest tactic. The woman's weapon was a shiny axe as wide as a door plank. She waved the axe in her hand and killed her way into the crowd of water-kind spirits. The axe in her hand danced like a whirlwind, leaving the water-kind spirits with broken limbs all over the ground. Too violent. However, there were too many water-kind spirits, and the Qin and River's shore was very long. It was impossible to completely control the long riverbank with just Xia Pingan, Mulanwai, and the 20 to 30 summoners under her command. The water-kind spirits that came ashore were suppressed and couldn't rush up. The water-kind spirits behind could immediately rush to the riverbank from other places and start destroying, chasing, and slaughtering. If the summoners guarding the riverbank wanted to stretch the defensive line would become weak, and it would be difficult to completely resist the waterkind spirits. If they didn't stretch the defensive line, they could only watch as the waterkind spirits rushed ashore. In such a situation, casualties were unavoidable. The policemen who were maintaining order and those who ran slower were immediately rushed to the front by the waterkind spirits. Ordinary bullets were almost useless against the waterkind spirit. Once the water demon's two pincers and tail reached a person, the pincers could clamp a person in two. The spikes on its tail were like spears that could pierce through a person's body. The people running behind screamed and wailed as the waterkind spirits caught up to them and killed them in the blink of an eye. Xia Pingan took out the scepter of adjudication and summoned a 1,000-miles horse. He rode on the 1,000-miles horse and moved freely on the ice surface. Because of the special magic effect of the judgment scepter, the waterkind spirits that rushed in front of him were crushed like porcelain dolls. The blood of the waterkind spirits almost dyed Xia Pingan red. The waterkind spirits were no match for Xia Pingan, but the problem was that there were too many of them, as if they were endless. As soon as a waterkind spirit was killed on the ice, two more would jump up, dauntlessly. Soon, the elite slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pingan used up their javelins. When the waterkind spirits and the spear-wielding elite slave soldiers clashed, the two sides were evenly matched. The elite slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pingan suffered casualties. As for the elite storm cavalrymen, they had stronger vitality. Even if they were surrounded and injured by the waterkind spirits, the talent, light of life, of the elite storm cavalrymen would allow them to recover from their injuries in battle and have a stronger ability to fight continuously. However, if the storm cavalrymen were surrounded by too many waterkind spirits, they would quickly run out of life and disappear into light. Unknowingly, the huge ice surface on the river where Xia Pingan was guarding became the main battlefield of the Peach Blossom Bridge. The originally snow-white floating ice was gradually dyed red by the blood of the waterkind spirits as the two sides fought. Damn it! Seeing that there were too many waterkind spirits, and the line of defense on the shore was collapsing and shrinking little by little, Xia Pingan threw caution to the wind. He swallowed a Fusionly Dan, and the divine power in the secret mandala rapidly increased by 2,000 points. He summoned another 100 storm cavalrymen to the battlefield. As for himself, Xia Pingan could not remember how many waterkind spirits he had killed. Fortunately, the first batch of reinforcements from the Judgment Army had finally arrived. Chapter 275. Xia Pingan pointed at the river. A stream of water flew out from the Chinon River and turned into a white stream in the air. After making a turn in the air, it poured down onto Xia Pingan's head. The clear river water poured down and finally washed away the thick blood on Xia Pingan's body, hair, and face. He had killed too many water demons. By the time the battle was over, Xia Pingan was covered in blood. He looked quite frightening. The Judgment Army was cleaning up the battlefield. Xia Pingan could finally find time to clean himself up. To Xia Pingan, this battle wasn't dangerous at all. The water demons couldn't threaten him. It was just that he had consumed a lot of his god power. The blood that gushed out of his body was like blood, flowing on the ice and spreading quickly. It was all red. The broken corpses of the water demons were everywhere on the ice. There were at least 3,000 or 4,000 corpses. The white ice had already become a blood-red drawing board. It was summer in Shangjing City. The huge ice on the Chinon River was gradually melting. If the corpses of those water monsters were not dealt with properly, it might cause an epidemic. The soldiers of the Judgment Army, who were cleaning up the corpses of the water monsters, looked at Xia Pingan with a strange look. They seemed to be in awe and surprise. Voila! Another large stream of water fell from the sky and drenched him. Xia Pingan finally felt a little more refreshed. Looking at the corpses of those water monsters, Xia Pingan suddenly patted his forehead. He had been fighting, and had almost forgotten that he should take some corpses of those water monsters to the secret mandala to see what kind of pills he could refine. His alchemy room in the secret mandala had been closed for a long time. The pharmacist he had summoned had now entered the dark fog of the secret mandala with medicine baskets on their backs. It seemed that they had gone to pick herbs. They had not returned for half a month. Looking at the corpses piled up like a mountain, Xia Pingan pondered for a moment before shaking his head. Next time, he was already eye-catching enough. There was no need to expose the secret space warehouse of the mandala and his ability as an alchemist. He would just treat it as hiding his abilities. Thinking of this, Xia Pingan pointed at the river. Another stream of white water flew into the sky and poured down on Xia Pingan's head. Your Excellency, 271 commoners were killed or injured on the shore. 35 policemen were sacrificed. 17 summoners of the Supervision Department of Huilong District were injured, but their lives were not in danger. Some buildings on the shore and boats in the river were also damaged. We lost about 2,000 gold coins. According to our preliminary count, there were about 10,800 corpses of those water monsters. According to our investigation, those water monsters were catalyzed by eggs of water monsters. Right beside the Peach Blossom Bridge, Lin Yi, the commander-in-chief of the Judgment Army and some commanders of the Judgment Army had arrived at the scene. The entire Peach Blossom Bridge had been completely blocked by the Judgment Army. 500 people of the Judgment Army had come here to support them. After the arrival of the Judgment Army, the water monsters were soon cleared. Over 10,000 water monsters raided Shangjing City. This was a very serious event. Therefore, Lin Yi had to come here to check the situation. Lin Yi was not in Shangjing City before. When he heard that a large number of water monsters raided Peach Blossom Bridge, Lin Yi felt cold all over. Lin Yi knew that there would be a dragon boat race at Peach Blossom Bridge today. There were about 100,000 commoners in Shangjing City. Lin Yi dared not imagine what would happen if a large number of water monsters rushed into the crowd of 100,000 commoners. Lin Yi hurried here. What he saw was out of his expectation. He saw a large number of corpses of water monsters. Although there were casualties among the commoners in Shangjing City, it was much better than what Lin Yi had imagined. It was a blessing in misfortune. Over 10,000 water monsters raided Shangjing City from the water. Under normal circumstances, at least 30,000 or 40,000 people would be killed or injured, which would lead to a great event that would shock the entire Shang dynasty. However, in the end, only 300 people were killed or injured. The loss was greatly reduced. The result was also under the control of the Judgment Army. There is a dragon boat race here today. It's very lively. Over 10,000 water monsters raided Shangjing City. Why didn't many commoners die or get injured? Lin Yi asked. It seemed a little unreasonable to ask this, but the truth was the truth. Although he felt lucky, as the commander of the Judgment Army, Lin Yi had to figure out what had happened here. He had to know every detail. I heard that before the water monsters raided, the inspection department of Huilong District stationed here had already evacuated the commoners. When the water monsters came ashore, there were no commoners on the shore. The dead and injured commoners were 200 steps away from the river. They were killed by the water monsters who broke through the blockade. The inspection department of Huilong District defended this place well and asked for reinforcements in time. Therefore, it didn't lead to a disaster. The inspector of Huilong District? I remember it's Mu Lanwei. Lin Yi's face relaxed a little and he asked. Yes, it's Mu Lanwei. Today, Mu Lanwei is here to command. Ask Mu Lanwei to come here. Yes. A moment later, Mu Lanwei, who was also covered in blood, was standing in front of Lin Yi. She saluted Lin Yi and the other big shots of the Judgment Army. Seeing Mu Lanwei covered in blood, Lin Yi nodded and said, Huilong Inspection Department dealt with the sudden incident on the Peach Blossom Bridge in time. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your compliment, Commander. This is only Mu Lanwei's duty. The inspection department of Huilong didn't protect the commoners here. Many commoners and policemen were killed by the water monsters. Please punish me, Mu Lanwei said as she lowered her head. Her face was a little sad. You've done very well. Today, everyone in the inspection department of Huilong has done well. You don't have to blame them too much. The Blood Demon sect should be responsible for the deaths of the commoners. If it weren't for you, there would have been more casualties. Lin Yi encouraged Mu Lanwei. By the way, I heard that you discovered the water monster's attack in advance and evacuated the commoners in advance. That's why it didn't lead to a disaster. How did you discover the water monster's attack? Mu Lanwei glanced at the river in the distance and saw Xia Pingan taking a shower on the ice. She said directly, I don't dare to lie to you, Commander. The first to discover the water monster's attack and remind us to evacuate the commoners here was Donggang Inspector Xia Pingan. If Commander Xia Pingan wasn't here today to remind us in time and then set up a battlefield in the river to block the main force of the water monsters, the consequences today would be unimaginable. Xia Pingan? The big shots of the Judgment Army were all too familiar with this name. A few days ago, Xia Pingan entered the Huang residence to capture people and stirred up the entire Shangjing city. They didn't expect him to be here today. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes and glanced at Xia Pingan, who was taking a shower on the river in the distance. He ordered, Ask Xia Pingan to come here. A moment later, Xia Pingan, whose hair and eyebrows were still dripping with water, arrived. Donggang Inspector Xia Pingan greets all my lords. Everyone's eyes focused on Xia Pingan's face. However, when Lin Yi saw Xia Pingan approaching, his long eyebrows moved slightly and his eyes flashed. At this time, Xia Pingan's aura was slightly different from a few days ago at the Ping Mountain camp. Although Xia Pingan tried his best to conceal it, Lin Yi immediately sensed that Xia Pingan had advanced to the Four Sun realm. Could it be the Crown Prince? Lin Yi was a little shocked, but he knew that Xia Pingan had the Crown Prince's support, so he didn't say anything. With the Crown Prince's strength, it was not difficult for him to push a 3-Sun Realm summoner to the 4-Sun Realm in a short time with a pile of realm beads and corresponding telepathic thought crystals. This matter was a little sensitive and involved many things. It was inconvenient for him to ask or talk about it. It seemed that the Crown Prince valued Xia Pingan very much. Lin Yi imagined it himself, which saved Xia Pingan a lot of trouble. How did you know that those water demons would attack here today? Lin Yi only asked Xia Pingan this question. Instead, I found that the fish in the Qin An River were abnormal. Before the dragon boat race began, a large number of fish suddenly fled from the downstream to the upstream crazily. According to common sense, there must be many things in the water approaching here. The fish were frightened and fled upstream. At that time, I didn't know that it was a water demon approaching here. I could only send a warning to Huilong's supervisor, Mr. Mu, to prepare in advance. Fortunately, Mr. Mu dealt with it in time, so it didn't cause a disaster. Xia Pingan didn't even blink as he made up a bunch of flawless and irrefutable reasons. He was the envoy inspector, and today was his working time. Of course, he couldn't say that he came out to watch the dragon boat race with a woman during working time in front of the few big bosses of the Judgment Army. Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? He also couldn't say anything about the Boy of Fortune, so he could only say that. Hearing Xia Pingan praising her without mentioning the previous friction, Mu Lanwei's eyes sparkled as she glanced at Xia Pingan again. Did you summon those storm cavalries on the ice? The one who asked Xia Pingan was Fang Pu, the commander of the Divine War Guards of the Judgment Army, who was standing beside Lin Yi. The one who came here today was the summoner of the Divine War Guards of the Judgment Army. The Divine War Guards were one of the main forces of the Judgment Army to guard Shangjing City. Fang Pu was in his 50s with a purple face and thick eyebrows. He was one of the few big bosses and leaders of the Judgment Army. It's just a little skill. I barely managed to summon it after taking a lot of elixirs. I'm sorry for making a fool of myself, Xia Pingan said modestly. Fang Pu looked at Xia Pingan with sparkling eyes and asked directly, "Are you interested in joining the Divine War Guards? If you join the Divine War Guards, I'll let you be the lieutenant." Chapter 276. As soon as Fang Pu opened his mouth, the atmosphere became a bit awkward, because Xia Pingan's nominal superior was standing beside him. "Lord Fang, what do you mean?" Hearing Fang Pu's words, a white-bearded old man standing on the other side of Lin Yi who looked taciturn opened his mouth coldly. "Lord Fang is trying to poach our supervisor. Do you think there's no one in the supervisor team?" This old man was Zhang Tiange, the commander of the supervisor team of the Judgment Army. Nominally, many supervision departments in Shangjing City were under the command of the supervisor team of the Judgment Army. Zhang Tiange was also the direct superior of the supervisor team. However, in fact, the supervisor team rarely interfered with the affairs of the supervision department. Due to some complicated reasons, although the supervisor team seemed to have great power, in fact, they didn't have great power and didn't have a high position in the Judgment Army. Even the supervisor team couldn't decide the specific candidates for the supervisor team of the supervision department in Shangjing City. In the end, it evolved into a compromise between various forces inside and outside the Judgment Army. The fact that Fang Pu could poach Zhang Tiange in front of him was enough to show the position of the supervisor team in the Judgment Army. Xia Pingan had never met Zhang Tiange when he first took up his post at the inspection department. Later, he was taken away by the Legal Supervision Division and brought to the Ping Mountain Barrack. He still had not met this nominal superior. The inspector guard's presence in the Judgment Army was very low. If it weren't for today's event, Xia Pingan wouldn't have seen what his immediate superior looked like. "Ha ha ha, Lord Zhang, don't be angry. The supervisor team is full of talents and they all work for the Judgment Army. How can you say that I'm poaching him? I just think that the storm cavalry he summoned is more suitable for charging on the battlefield and will be more effective in our war immortal guards," Fang Pu explained with a smile. "Humph." Zhang Tiange snorted but didn't say anything more. "Don't mention it again. Xia Pingan has just been in the supervision department of Donggang for a few days. His position shouldn't be changed so frequently." Lin Yi opened his mouth calmly and glanced at Fang Pu. Only then did Fang Pu stop talking. "Ahem, sir, I remember that there is a demon blocking net at the estuary of Qin and River. There are also experts from the Judgment Army stationed there. Where did those aquatic monsters come from? Is there a loophole in the demon blocking net?" Xia Pingan asked, diverting everyone's attention with a question. "The demon blocking net at the estuary of Qin and River is normal. Those water demons are catalyzed by the demons of the Blood Demon Church using water demon eggs in the water," Lin Yi said. "You are the envoy inspector, so you should know some things. After the remnants of the Blood Demon Church were encircled in Shangjing City, the Blood Demon Church sent the 5 demons of the Blood Demon Church to Shangjing City for revenge. The one who has this ability in the water should be Water Demon Qiao Dahai of the 5 demons." Water Demon Qiao Dahai? This name was completely unfamiliar to Xia Pingan. Yes, legend has it that Water Demon Qiao Dahai can change infinitely in the water. He is proficient in the art of transformation in the water, likes to raise water demons, and likes to kill people in the water. As long as there is water, he is invincible. This person is very difficult to deal with. The Judgment Army is still trying their best to find his traces. I didn't expect him to show up here today. Yes. Xia Pingan lowered his head and his eyes moved. If that person was Water Demon Xiao Dehai, then from this moment on, Xia Pingan had already locked onto that person's traces. Xia Pingan wanted to see if he could also lock onto the traces of the other 5 demons through Water Demon. The reason why the 5 demons were a headache for the Judgment Army was not because they were strong, but because they hid well. Their techniques were strange and destructive. If their whereabouts were exposed, once they were locked onto by the Judgment Army, they would definitely die. It was like an anti-terrorist force discovering a thief's den. The difficult part was discovering it, not destroying it. Lin Yi and the other big shots of the Judgment Army didn't stay at the Peach Blossom Bridge for long. After understanding the situation here, those big shots left. The rest of the matters at the Peach Blossom Bridge would naturally be handled by the other members of the Judgment Army. The big shots had more important things to do. But no matter what happened at the Peach Blossom Bridge today was bound to shake the entire Shangjing City. The dragon boat race in Shangjing City was interrupted, and hundreds of people died. This was no small matter. When Lin Yi left, his brows were slightly knitted, and his eyes were murderous. This matter wasn't over yet. After the big shots left, Mu Lanwei spoke to Xia Pingan softly, which was rare for her. I will remember today's favor. If you need our help in the future, just let us know. If it weren't for Xia Pingan today, the water demons would have come ashore to slaughter and cause heavy casualties. The Huilong Supervision Department would have to bear the blame for this. How could they be like now and still be able to make contributions? Thinking of the consequences, Mu Lanwei shuddered. She was truly grateful to Xia Pingan. You're my colleague. No need to be so polite. Xia Pingan smiled. He had a whole new level of respect for this female envoy inspector today. Compared to Yao Yuchang, this valiant Mu Lanwei, who was covered in blood, was definitely a qualified envoy inspector. On the ice in the river, the elite slave soldiers summoned by Xia Pingan were basically all dead. Now, there were only about 100 storm cavalrymen still standing on the ice, waiting for Xia Pingan's orders. Looking at the storm cavalrymen who had made contributions today, Xia Pingan sighed. Although it was a pity, he still waved his hand and those storm cavalrymen dissipated into light. The storm cavalrymen's plane landing time was 720 minutes, which was 12 hours. From the beginning until now, those storm cavalrymen had only fought for about an hour. But after the battle, the storm cavalrymen's plane landing time was useless. Xia Pingan also couldn't bring them around, so he could only dissipate them. Damn, that's divine power, that's all money. Xia Pingan had just dissipated the storm cavalrymen when he saw Mu Lanwei wave her hand. A black fog appeared in front of her, and the remaining archers she summoned just now lined up and entered the black fog. Damn, what's going on? Xia Pingan was stunned. Xia Pingan blinked and asked Mu Lanwei, why didn't the archers you summoned disappear? I've once fused with a Golden Thunder Realm Pearl. After fusing with the Golden Thunder Realm Pearl, the summoned character could be recalled back to the secret mandala before the duration of the plane of existence was used up. For example, the archer could be summoned repeatedly. It's too wasteful to just dissipate like you, Golden Thunder Realm Pearl? Xia Pingan was puzzled. Don't you know? Mu Lanwei asked. Xia Pingan was speechless. He really didn't know about the existence of the Golden Thunder Realm Pearl. It could actually recall the summoned characters back to the secret mandala. Xia Pingan had always thought that the summoned characters couldn't be used again once they were summoned. They would either die in battle or wait for the plane landing time to run out before dissipating. It seemed that everyone on Earth was like this. Xia Pingan had never heard of the existence of the Golden Thunder Realm Pearl. After all this time, it turned out that he was a country bumpkin. This was also the aftereffect of Void Crossers advancing too quickly in this world. There were many abilities of the realm pearls that void crossers didn't know about. It's not strange that you don't know. The Golden Thunder Realm Pearl is one of the rarest realm pearls. Most summoners might not even see it once in their lifetime. Just find a chance to fuse with it in the future. Mu Lanwei comforted Xia Pingan when she saw his expression. Cough, cough. May I ask, does the Golden Thunder Realm Pearl auction house have it? Most of the time, they don't. You don't have to worry about not being able to sell that kind of realm pearl. Very few people will take it to the auction house after obtaining it. However, it's also possible that the auction house will auction that kind of realm pearl to a few VIP customers. If you're lucky, you can get it. How much does one cost? 2 to 300,000 gold coins. If you want to ensure a 100% success rate, it'll cost 5 to 600,000 gold coins. The Golden Thunder Realm Pearl's Divine Sense Crystal is also very rare. Damn, this price is too scary. A realm pearl is equivalent to several courtyards in Shangjing City. However, the Golden Thunder Realm Pearl's ability could allow the summoned characters to use it repeatedly before the plane landing time ran out. This price didn't seem that unacceptable. Mu Lanwei could fuse with a realm pearl worth hundreds of thousands of gold coins. She might be a hidden rich summoner. Xia Pingan had nothing to do here. After bidding farewell to Mu Lanwei, Xia Pingan left the sealed area of the Tianyuan Bridge. As soon as he left the Tianyuan Bridge, a luxurious carriage came from not far away and stopped in front of Xia Pingan. Yenduo's annoying face appeared behind the window of the carriage. Yenduo didn't say anything and just opened the door. Xia Pingan also didn't say anything and directly got in the carriage. Chapter 277. After getting into the carriage, Xia Pingan and Yenduo hugged each other tightly. Then, both of them punched each other's chests and laughed together. Yes, Xia Pingan and Yenduo both felt the same. When they saw each other here, besides hugging each other, they both wanted to give each other a good beating. This was a reunion after surviving a disaster. It was also a smile for good friends to reunite again. There was joy, relief, and blessings for seeing a fellow traveler. After joining the heaven-mending plan and coming to this world, it was great to see familiar faces and companions again. The carriage drove on the street and started moving again. The curtains of the carriage were drawn, and the two of them chatted in the carriage and discussed the situation. I didn't expect that there would be a problem in the space crack. I almost thought that I would never see you again. By the way, do you have any news about the others? Yenduo said with a smile. Although he was smiling, his eyes were a little red. He used his smile to cover everything. You are the first person I have seen. Xia Pingan was also excited. When he saw Yenduo at this time, he felt as excited as if he had joined forces in the Long March. His feelings were indescribable. Besides the two of us, there are other people who participated in the plan. Wu Zhanfeng and Lin Qing might be stranded in the Gold Moon continent. As for the others, they might have met with an accident in the space crack and been sent to different places. There are still them. How do you know? Yenduo looked surprised. I found out that the Blood Demon Church is chasing after us. I don't know where they got our portraits. As long as they get our heads, they will reward us handsomely. Why is the Blood Demon Church chasing after us? Yenduo's expression suddenly became serious. The Blood Demon Church has a close relationship with the Devil's Eye. You can think of it as the Devil's Eye of this world. They worship the dominating devil god, and I suspect that they might already know our purpose in coming to this world, so they are stopping us at all costs. You have to be careful. Xia Pingan looked at Yenduo's face after he changed his appearance. I thought you already knew, so I deliberately made myself look like this. Hee, sure enough, there is no harm in being careful. Out of caution, I cut my hair and changed my face. By the way, my current name is not Yenduo anymore. I have changed my name to Yen Xiaoqi. I am a wandering summoner born and bred in Golden Moon Continent. I am not a spacewalker. You can call me Yen Xiaoqi from now on. Yen Duo replied with a complacent look on his face. Yen Xiaoqi looked at Yen Xiaoqi and said, "Don't you know who I am? Do you think I am that stupid?" The moment I landed, I found that there was a problem with the space transmission. Yen Xiaoqi, Yan's name, Xiaoqi Xiaoqi, this name, Xiaoqi's name, Xiaoqi Xiaoqi Xiaoqi, and Xiaoqi. Yen Duo glanced at Xia Pingan. Little Qi is my nickname. Do you have a problem with that? No, it's pretty good. That's more like it. What's the matter with that countess beside you? Haha, you're quite well informed. What a coincidence. Not long after I changed my name, I met a group of bandits in the wild. Those bandits were discussing how to kidnap Lin Qing. I happened to overhear them. Isn't there a person called Lin Qing in our team? At that time, I thought those bandits were talking about the Lin Qing that I knew. Later on, I followed those bandits. When they launched an attack, I jumped out and killed those bandits. Yen Duo shrugged his shoulders as he squeezed his eyebrows and made a, expression. That's what happened later. It's a cliché story. The hero saves the beauty, and the beauty marries the hero. Even the hero can't control himself. This is God's will. In order to save the Earth and the world, in order to prevent those survivors from suffering from the space invasion, I reluctantly accepted it and sacrificed myself to fulfill the great cause of the Patching the Heavens plan. You're the first person that I've seen who could make living off a woman sound so great. Xia Pingan also laughed. If you can live off a woman, why would you dig a field and plant rice? Yen Duo smiled meaningfully. That smile was both carefree and wild. When I joined the Patching the Heavens plan, I even disregarded my own life and death. Why would I care about the gossip of others and my face? Am I that weak? In the end, strength is everything in this world. Our strength is piled up by the Realm Pearl and the telepathic thought crystal. Do you know what kind of strength is needed to destroy the Dark Tower? Xia Pingan deliberately shook his head with a naive look. What kind of strength is needed? Isn't it just finding and destroying it? Ha ha ha, don't be naive. If the Dark Tower could be destroyed so easily, do you think it would be our turn to do it? Yen Duo's face suddenly became serious. I haven't been idle these days. I've already gathered some information and heard some news. Don't be surprised if I tell you. What news? If you want to destroy the Dark Tower, you need to become a god. Yen Duo stared closely into Xia Pingan's eyes, hoping to see some surprise in Xia Pingan's eyes. However, Xia Pingan's gaze did not change at all. Yen Duo originally wanted to show off, but he realized that Xia Pingan was unmoved. He could only curse Xia Pingan's poker face in his heart and pretend to be calm. Become a god, you understand. You need to reach the peak of strength in this world to have a chance of destroying the Dark Tower. Yen Duo emphasized again. Become a god? Xia Pingan also sighed softly. It was getting harder and harder to reach the Four-Sun realm. He really didn't know how difficult it was to become a god. You don't have to despair. Actually, I think that the people who came up with the Patching the Heavens plan already knew that we needed to become a god to destroy the Dark Tower. It's just that we didn't know. Oh, why do you say that? The people who participated in the Patching the Heavens plan have already disregarded life and death. How many stimulants did they give themselves to have the courage to participate in this plan? If everyone knew that destroying the Dark Tower was so difficult and that the hope was so slim that it was almost an impossible mission, how many people would have the confidence to participate in the Patching the Heavens plan? Perhaps many people would have hesitated. Yen Duo nodded. We're just being kept in the dark. Being able to destroy the Dark Tower and solve the problem of space invasion once and for all is naturally the highest goal of the Patching the Heavens plan. But if we can't achieve this highest goal, if we can increase our strength as much as possible in this world and open the spatial channel back to Earth, we can go back and kill the demon eye, or have the ability to deal with even more serious space invasions, or be a spy in this world, a variable, and provide help to the people who participate in the Patching the Heavens plan in the future. I reckon that this is the secondary goal of the Patching the Heavens plan. In short, regardless of whether it's the highest goal or the secondary goal of the Patching the Heavens plan, increasing our strength is our first priority here. Without strength, everything is nonsense. As long as we are strong enough, all problems can be solved. Yen Duo's brain was indeed useful. With his explanation, Xia Pingan felt that this was indeed the case. As Yen Duo spoke, he took out a bottle of wine from the wine cabinet in the luxurious carriage and poured a glass for Xia Pingan. By the way, Yen Duo, who was holding the wine glass, suddenly sat up straight and seemed to have thought of something. You haven't told me about your current situation. Did you join the state apparatus of the Shang dynasty? After you reminded me to leave, there was chaos there, and then the police of Shangjing sealed off the area. I thought something had happened to you. If you hadn't come out of the sealed area, I would have thought of a way to go in and find you. Xia Pingan rubbed his nose. State apparatus, sort of. I feel that Shangjing is the place where the resources of the Gold Moon continent gather. If I can gain a foothold here, it will be easier to obtain cultivation resources, and it should be easier to advance. Ha ha ha, not bad, not bad. It seems that you're thinking the same as me. Yen Duo laughed. Then, under Xia Pingan's gaze, he stretched out his hand and patted Xia Pingan's shoulder. With a complacent look, he pointed out Xia Pingan, but I don't think it's feasible for you to join the state apparatus. There are too many people in the state apparatus. You don't have any background, so there won't be many resources left in your hands. You're neither hungry nor full. Among those who participated in the Heavens Patching plan in the Fire Country, you used to be the most powerful one. However, without resources, you will fall behind. Guess what realm I'm in now? Since he met Xia Pingan, Yen Duo had only enjoyed the days of being above Xia Pingan for a few days before being surpassed by Xia Pingan. He had always been unconvinced and wanted to regain his face. Now, Yen Duo felt that he could finally surpass Xia Pingan once again. He could finally hold his head high in front of Xia Pingan and regain his dignity and the feeling of being a powerhouse. Haha, you didn't expect that, right? Not long after coming here, I've already soaked in the precious Yang Immortal Spring and fused with a lot of realm pearls. I've already advanced to a Yang realm. Are you shocked by my realm? There's also a realm difference between living off a woman, okay? Yen Duo thought happily in the bottom of his heart. He had already thought of an excuse and was ready to surprise Xia Pingan. I must be reserved and not too arrogant, so as not to hurt Xia Pingan's self-esteem. Some people were narrow-minded and found it difficult to accept that their companions had suddenly surpassed them by so much. Humble, I must be humble. Yen Duo held his wine glass calmly and took a sip of wine as if he was in a television commercial. Xia Pingan looked at Yen Duo speechlessly. Yen Duo's Yang realm aura was too obvious. However, this fellow's expression was even more annoying. Speaking of which, this fellow had advanced to the Yang realm in just a few months after coming to this world. His cultivation speed was indeed much faster than when he was at the Committee of Order. It was no wonder this fellow was so arrogant. Under Yen Duo's gaze, Xia Pingan reached out and patted Yen Duo's shoulder. Congratulations on advancing to the Yang realm. Little Chi, you have to work hard. In a few years, when you advance to the Four Sun realm, you will be able to catch up to me. Chapter 278. Puff. Yen Duo spurted out a mouthful of wine, which splashed all over himself. He turned around in shock and stared at Xia Pingan with an expression that said, Are you King kidding me? Xia Pingan shrugged his shoulders as he leisurely sipped the wine in his hand and smiled. This dew-congealing wine is pretty good. I just sold a batch of it from the warehouse that I seized a few days ago. It's not worth much, only a few 100,000 gold coins. Perhaps your wine is really the batch that I seized and sold. You seized? Yen Duo stammered. I haven't told you that I have indeed joined the great Shang nation's state apparatus. However, the state apparatus I have joined is not ordinary. It is the great Shang nation's judgment army. That's right, I am now the inspector of the Eastport Supervision Bureau of the Judgment Army. I only have a few dozen 1 Sun Stage and 2 Sun Stage summoners under me. Yenduo, please take care of me. The speech that he had prepared was stuck in his throat. He originally wanted to show off and feel elated. However, he realized that the gap between him and Xia Pingan had not narrowed, nor was he in the lead. Instead, it had widened. Yenduo wanted to die. Yenduo's expression changed from green to red and white, as if he had just opened a dye shop. Finally, Yenduo forced a bitter smile as his shoulders slumped and he slumped onto the sofa-like seat in the carriage. Picking up the bottle, he gulped down a few mouthfuls of wine before panting heavily and scolding himself fiercely. If I were to compare myself with you in the future, I would be the biggest idiot in the world. You're simply a monster. Why do I feel that the plan to patch the heavens was prepared for you? Don't give up on yourself. Your brain is very useful. Xia Pingan smiled. F***ck. Sometimes I really want to cut open your head to see what's inside and if it's different from ours. Yen Duo smiled bitterly. Hee, I'm afraid you won't have such a chance. No. After drinking 2 mouthfuls of wine, Yen Duo suddenly thought of something as he abruptly sat up and stared at Xia Pingan with gleaming eyes. At the same time, he put his 2 paws on Xia Pingan's shoulders and asked, Tell me the truth, who's that girl standing on the Peach Blossom Bridge with you today? Given her look and temperament, she's definitely not an average person. She's called Chow Chow, her real name is Beitang Wangyu. She's the princess of the great Shang nation. Since Yen Duo wanted to know the truth, Xia Pingan didn't hide Cao Cao's identity. Yen Duo's expression froze once again. In other words, he suffered another heavy setback. He stared at Xia Pingan blankly. Princess, it's really a princess. It turns out that you're also. Yen Duo had already accepted that he was surpassed by Xia Pingan in cultivation base. However, he had not imagined that he was also surpassed by Xia Pingan in this aspect. Yen Duo felt that his secret mandala was about to collapse. A golden immortal appeared in his secret mandala. That immortal was Xia Pingan. Without thinking too much, he just needed to worship him from now on. At the sight of Yen Duo's expression, Xia Pingan knew what this guy was thinking about. It's not what you think. I know. Yen Duo nodded. From today onwards you are my big brother, my blood big brother. I concede defeat and prostrate myself before you. Don't worry, I will keep this a secret for you. Other than me, I will not tell anyone else. If anyone dares to say anything, I will silence them. Yen Duo nodded his head and revealed a sly smile. He clasped his hands together and raised them above his head as he sighed. Originally, I thought that I was the only one who would walk this path. I didn't expect that you would also. Admirable. Forget it, if I tell this guy, it will only make things worse. Xia Pingan was too lazy to explain anything and directly interrupted the topic. What are your plans for coming to Shangjing City this time? Plans? Actually, I don't have any long-term plans. I'm just a 1 Sun Realm summoner, and I can't do anything now. Originally, I just wanted to participate in the dragon boat race with Qinger. I heard that there are many realm pearls in Shangjing City, so I want to buy some realm pearls back. When I'm stronger, I'm going to go to the Wood Flood Dragon continent to see if I can get in touch with others. Yen Duo said with waning interest. Some of the people who participated in the heaven-mending plan might have gone to the Wood Flood Dragon Continent's Diding Kingdom and are helping them manufacture firearms, cannons, and high-energy explosives. There are such people? They did what I wanted to do. How do you know that there are such people in the Diding Kingdom? The Shang Kingdom has already obtained part of the cannons and explosives technology from the Diding Kingdom. You even know about this? Did that princess tell you? Yen Duo's gaze toward Xia Pingan became strange again. He chuckled. You're doing well now. Do you have any benefits that you can take care of? I'm not greedy. Just find me 70 to 80 realm pearls with spiritual sense crystals. This shouldn't be difficult for you. You're the future son-in-law of the Shang Kingdom. You better not let others know about our relationship, or you might die. Xia Pingan's expression was extremely serious. Damn, you're not trying to scare me, are you? Yen Duo's expression changed immediately. It's actually very risky for you to come and find me now. Other than the Blood Demon Church chasing after me, the Crown Prince of the Shang Kingdom, Beitang Wangchuan, and the higher-ups of the Judgment Army already know about my identity as a spacewalker. There are two important reasons why I was promoted to the Eastport Inspector. First, Beitang Wangchuan and the higher-ups of the Judgment Army want to use me to lure the Blood Demon Church out, and I'm the bait. Second, they want me to seal you out. The people of the Shang Kingdom know where our advantage lies, and they want to use us to help them grow stronger. Therefore, you need to be clear-headed. If the Blood Demon Church knows about your identity, you won't be able to live in peace. The Shang Kingdom will also keep an eye on you. Do you still want my realm pearl? Then aren't you in great danger now? Do you really think there's a price to pay in this world? Does that princess know about your situation? Can she tolerate it? She still doesn't know about my identity as a spacewalker. Moreover, let me tell you, my relationship with her is not like what you think. To a certain extent, I'm walking on a tightrope in this position. Yen Duo sat up straight again, and the expression on his face began to become serious. Then what are your plans? Xia Pingan narrowed his eyes slightly. What you said just now is very true. In this world, strength is everything. The reason I'm in Shangjing City is because the cultivation resources here are more abundant. My current goal is to become stronger as soon as possible. The environment here is the best training for me. I'm not afraid of being used by the Shang Kingdom, as long as they can pay the corresponding price. The more my identity is exposed, the more I can attract the attention of the Blood Demon Church, and reduce the pressure on others. Because of the space transmission accident, now that everyone is separated and has no contact with each other at all, it's very difficult to ask for help from others. This is actually very disadvantageous to the completion of the Heaven Patching Plan. If I can gather all the separated people and re-establish communication channels, the chances of completing the Heaven Patching Plan will be greater, and it will be of greater help to Earth. However, it's inconvenient for me to contact others because I've already been exposed. Do you understand what I mean? Tell me and I'll do it. You are the most suitable candidate. If I make a name for myself in the Shang dynasty, Wu Zhanfeng and the other people who were separated from me might know that I am in Shangjing City. They should think of a way to contact me. At that time, you can slowly regroup all of us. At least, we can let everyone exchange information. We won't have to fight alone like scattered sand. You mean to form a secret organization? There can be many forms. We came to this world for the same goal, and everyone's strength is too weak to fight alone. A certain degree of unity is necessary. For example, right now, it's not difficult for you and me to take out 10,000 gold coins, and the use of 10,000 gold coins is limited to us. However, if the others don't have the ability and luck like you and me, they may still be fighting for a few gold coins, looking for various opportunities. As for those who participated in Project Mend the Heavens, those who already have achievements and resources may also be thinking about how to use the resources in their hands more efficiently and how to complete the project better, so that more people like us who came to this world can quickly grow stronger. Yen Duo was suddenly energized. I understand. In fact, I've had an idea recently. I want to form an organization in the world of Yuanxiu with the members of Project Mend the Heavens as the core. This organization can make money, collect information, and contact others. It can link everyone's strength and protect everyone, but it can also avoid restricting each other. It can even stab the Blood Demon Church a few times at a critical moment. I'm still thinking about how to do it. That's a good idea. If there really is such an organization, it will be helpful to everyone in Project Mend the Heavens. Here are 200,000 gold coins. Xia Pingan heard Yen Duo's words, and directly took out a few gold notes and handed them to Yen Duo. Take it as the initial funds I'm giving you. You have your own money, so it'll be more convenient for you to do things. You're really a rich man, so generous! Yen Duo exclaimed. He took the gold notes from Xia Pingan and asked, "This is not a small amount. Aren't you afraid that I'll embezzle it? You risked your life to come to this world just to embezzle some gold coins?" Xia Pingan laughed. Yen Duo did not say anything else, and directly put the gold coins away. How do we contact each other in the future? Do you still remember the set of media code words used by the Committee of Order in emergency situations? The two of them discussed how to contact each other, and the carriage they were in was blocked by the police in front of them. The police in Shangjing were checking the carriage at the checkpoint. The incident at Peach Blossom Bridge had made the whole of Shangjing nervous, and the number of police on the streets suddenly increased. Knock, knock, knock. The police outside knocked on the window of the carriage with their batons. "Please open the door and get out for inspection." Yen Duo opened the door and got out of the carriage. "Are you alone?" The police at the checkpoint scanned the carriage and asked. "Alone?" Yen Duo was stunned, and when he turned around, the carriage was empty. Xia Pingan was nowhere to be seen. Yen Duo had no idea how Xia Pingan disappeared. "Damn it, is the gap between us that big?" Yen Duo smiled bitterly in his heart. Facing the police who were scrutinizing him, he could only answer, "It's just me, what's your name?" "Yen Xiaoqi." "Where's your identification?" Chapter 279. In the lower reaches of the Qinan River, at the estuary, there are more corpses floating down from above. Wow, they're aquatic monsters. This should be the 70th body caught by that ship. The Marine Police of Shangjing City drove several steamboats that were emitting black smoke and hundreds of fishing boats that were temporarily organized. They were salvaging the corpses floating down from the upper reaches of the Qinan River. Seeing the corpses in the fishing nets, the people on the fishing boats shouted again. The corpses of aquatic monsters were piled up on the fishing boat. Some of the corpses were intact, but there were some wounds on the vital parts. Many of the corpses were fragmented and incomplete. Aquatic monsters with only one head, one leg, and half a body were everywhere. The corpses of aquatic monsters had been soaked in the water for a long time. Their wounds were a little pale. The muscles, internal organs, and intestines of the wounds were like water plants in the water, swaying lifelessly with the waves. Some of the wounds even had traces of being bitten by fish. Once the ferocious faces of aquatic monsters became corpses, they lost all their deterrence and looked similar to the seafood slaughtered in the vegetable market. The fishing boats salvaging the corpses were a little scared at first, but gradually they got used to it. Just now, there was a period when the water of the Qinan River flowed down from above, which was red. The marine police, the fishermen, the people fishing on the shore, and the guests on the boats were all frightened. Then, the corpses of aquatic monsters flowed down from the upper reaches. The people here finally knew why the Qinan River was red. Because in addition to water, there was also blood flowing in the river, which could dye the whole river red. Something big must have happened in the upper reaches of the Chine River. Some people had already thought of the dragon boat race on the Chine River today. Wherever the red water flowed, the atmosphere of panic flowed with it. However, this panic didn't last long because soon, everyone discovered that the corpses floating down from the upper reaches weren't human, only aquatic demon corpses. Moreover, more and more aquatic demon corpses appeared, densely packed. Not a single human corpse could be seen. As long as there were no human corpses in the river, no one would be afraid. Gradually, many people gathered on the shore at the estuary to watch the show. There were more than 10,000 people who came to watch the fun. The workers of the nearby docks and shipyards, the residents, the fishermen, and the people who were strolling around by the sea all came over. Everyone gathered on both sides of the embankment at the estuary and pointed at the salvage situation in the water. I bet that the Longan fishing boat has the most corpses of water demons. My ferry fucking got the most, 2 silver coins. I bet the Cloud of Heaven will get a lot, 5 silver coins. Among the crowd on the shore watching the marine police and fishing boats salvage work, there were even a few green-skinned men who opened bets and directly bet. Many people were still discussing the matter. Why are there so many corpses in the river? I heard that the demons of the Blood Demon sect are causing trouble, mischief? Did the Blood Demon Church make these aquatic demons perform suicide in the upper reaches? Why are there so many aquatic demon corpses instead of human corpses? What nonsense are you talking about? Do you want to see someone float down? That's not what I mean. I want Shangjing City to be safe and sound. It's just that there are so many corpses of water demons. It's too strange. What's so strange about it? Shangjing City is under the protection of the Adjudicator Army. Maybe the idiots of the Blood Demon sect have nothing better to do, so they came up with some tricks to amuse us. Let's go and gamble. Among the crowd, there was an old man wearing a straw hat and holding a fishing rod. His body was slightly bent and his back was hunched. He seemed to be fishing here. Looking at the corpses of the aquatic monsters in the river and listening to the discussions of the people around him, his eyes flashed with cold light and his face turned pale. Boy of Fortune was squatting on the old man's hat, but the old man didn't notice. This old man was the water demon Qiao Danhai. At this moment, Qiao Danhai had become an old fisherman who lived alone in a village by the sea in Shangjing City. The old fisherman's original form had been chopped up by Qiao Danhai and thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Even the old fisherman's neighbors in the village didn't know that their neighbor had changed without them noticing. Qiao Danhai had originally been waiting here to watch the show and his masterpiece. He wanted to see the countless corpses of Shangjing City's people floating down from the upper reaches. He wanted to see the frightened and pale faces of the people around him. He wanted to see the entire Shangjing City tremble under his tyrannical power. He wanted to see the name Qiao Danhai shake Shangjing City and become everyone's nightmare. But everything in front of him was like a merciless mockery of him. Impossible, impossible. When he released the water demons, there were no experts near the Peach Blossom Bridge. Even if the summoners who maintained order discovered the water demons attacking and killed them in the end, they wouldn't have been able to evacuate the crowd in time. This was a massacre. The ones who died the most were definitely the people of Shangjing City. How could it be his own water demons? Qiao Danhai roared in his heart. Hey, old man, do you want to make a bet? Let's bet on which boat catches the most water demon corpses. The odds are 1 to 3. A young man with a face full of pimples asked Qiao Danhai. The ashen expression on Qiao Danhai's face disappeared in an instant. He suddenly became cold and lonely. He snorted coldly. I still have 2 fish in my basket. Do you want to bet? TCH, so you don't have money. Who wants to bet on your 2 stinky fish? After taking one last look at the situation in the river, Xiao Danhai carried his fishing rod and fish basket and turned to walk towards a village by the sea. There were more than 300 families in the village. It was right by the sea, and there were rows of small fishing boats by the sea. The people of Shangjing City didn't eat the fish in the Qinan River, but they still ate the fish in the sea. Therefore, the entire village relied on fishing for a living. The old men in the village who couldn't get on the boat would go fishing or catch some fish, shrimp, and seafood by the sea. Although they didn't earn as much money as fishing at sea, they could still earn some money to buy some wine every day. There were many small villages like this near the sea, and there were even more old men like the one Xiao Danhai had turned into. The old man Xiao Danhai had turned into was a lonely man in the village. He had no children and no wife. His temper was a little eccentric, and he didn't like to talk to people. When Xiao Danhai walked through the village, no one greeted him. Xiao Danhai's little hut was very shabby. It was less than 400 meters from the sea, and it stood alone in front of a slope covered in weeds. When he returned to the little hut, the sun had already set. There wasn't enough light in the hut, and all kinds of things were piled up in a mess. It was dark everywhere, and it was especially depressing. Xiao Danhai closed the door, put away his fishing rod, and poured the fish in the basket into the water tank. Then he waved his hand, and the sound in the hut was completely blocked from the outside world. If someone was outside, they would only hear a dead silence in the hut. Xiao Danhai's eyes shone brightly as he scanned the hut. 2 words came out of his mouth in a low voice. "Come out. He, good vigilance." In the shadow of a shabby cupboard in the hut, a shadow twisted and slowly revealed a human figure wearing a golden grimace mask and wrapped in a thick black fog. The person in the fog chuckled softly. "You screwed up today's show." The famous water demon Xiao Danhai made his first move in Shangjing City. He used up tens of thousands of water demon eggs, but only killed 100 or 200 people. Not a single corpse could be seen in the river. He, this job wasn't done well. Humph. Xiao Danhai snorted coldly. "It's not up to you, dark demon, to worry about my business. If you're powerful, go kill a few hundred people under the eyes of the Judgment Army." "I'm afraid you don't have the guts." He. The dark demon in the thick black fog laughed strangely. His original male voice turned into a woman's when he laughed, which gave people goosebumps. Then the dark demon's voice became old again, like an old man. "There are many ways to kill people. You don't have to use your guts. It's the same with using your brain. Don't you want to know why you failed today? Who ruined your plan?" "What do you mean?" Xiao Danhai's eyes moved. "You don't have to be so careful. One of the sky traversers who appeared in the Gold Moon continent is in Shangjing City. Today, he is the one who spoiled your plan. If you want the immortal pill, we can cooperate once. As long as you take his head, we can divide the immortal pill equally." Immortal pill? Hearing these 3 words, a greedy brilliance flashed through Xiao Danhai's eyes. These 3 words seemed to have a great temptation to him. "Who's the Void Walker you're talking about?" "Xia Pingan, the inspector of the Eastport Supervision Bureau of the Judgment Army. Today, he gave an early warning when he found something unusual underwater at the Peach Blossom Bridge. He let the onlookers evacuate in advance. Later, he set up a troop formation to snipe the water demon at the Peach Blossom Bridge. That's why your plan was in vain," the dark demon said, and his voice became that of a teenager again. He didn't know that Boy Fushun had climbed up his head and was peeing on it. The Judgment Army let a Voidwalker join as an inspector? Xia Pingan is just a bait. When the Shangjing City branch was wiped out last time, the higher-ups of the Shang Kingdom already knew his identity. They also knew that our blood demon sect wanted his head, so they deliberately put him in a conspicuous place to lure us in. Did the Judgment Army think we couldn't see through this trick? You know it's a trap, but you still want me to jump in. This is the interesting part. The dark demon's voice was ethereal and strange, echoing in the shabby cabin. We ate the meat in the trap right under the nose of the Judgment Army and escaped unscathed. Didn't you get back the face you lost today? You also got the immortal pill. If the Temple Master knows that we killed Xia Pingon in this situation, he will definitely reward us handsomely. If the Temple Master is happy, he might even reward us with double the immortal pill. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.